want to talk about sunburns first because I'm over it.
Like human sunburns?
Yeah.
All
Fucking
right.
human sunburns. The fuck other kind of sunburns are there?
I mean, like, other animals could probably get sunburns too, you know?
Is that you got a big rant about turtle sunburns or some shit?
Listen, guys, the other day, I was just walking along the lake, and I saw this bright red turtle.
Damn.
Roasted, dude. He was destroyed by the sun.
Man, old flip.
He took his shell off for too long. You know what I'm saying?
God, that's bad.
Alrighty,
That's
we're back
fucking
here with another
awful.
episode of That's Movies, Brother. Today we have a guest. This guy sitting in the middle. It's Phil.
Hey, what's up? I'm Philip.
Tell us about yourself.
Well, I like anime.
That's great, Phil. I want to talk about something more important. This is episode 50.
This is episode 50. I'm so glad you brought it up because every time that I look back at the numbers and it's like about to approach some sort of milestone, like, oh, I'm going to mention on the podcast. Always forget.
Yep.
Like, 20, that's pretty good. Like 25, that's a quarter of,
You
want
want to do 20 and 25?
No, I'm just trying to think of like round numbers at this point. 25, it's
32 sounds cool.
I feel
right?
like 25 and 50 are pretty
Yeah.
much it. But I
That's it.
always forget.
25, 50, 100, and then 500. Nothing in between there.
Nah,
matters.
250 is
I was
pretty
about
big.
to say, why not 250?
250? Who cares?
What
about-
about to 1,000? Then why does 25 matter?
25? It doesn't. I
Are
wasn't
people-
on board with that.
Are people really going to tune into us arguing about numbers?
What about 365? That's a big one.
No.
It's a big one if we've been doing it every day.
Oh, 69, 420. If we ever get to 6,000. Wait, no, 69,000.
So whoever has been listening from the start, thank you.
Dang.
If you've been watching from the start, which is what? the
That's
past-
got to be well over 100 hours. We're about to do well over 100 hours of podcast.
yeah, at least close to.
It's got to be because they're, well, I don't know, because they're probably average a little under 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably like around 148 or something like that. But
So congratulations, Phil.
yeah, it was
were
a big
able to-
one.
You were to
Yeah.
hop on during a big
It was
episode.
completely coincidental. We did not plan that.
Yeah, I know. I've been trying to be here for a while, but
So
just schedules.
we are talking anime for the first time because if you've been listening to this podcast, you know that's how Nate feels about anime without ever actually watching it. So
It's the degradation of everything we hold dear here in America.
we decided to have somebody on, one of our good old boys who does enjoy anime and has a little bit more experience because I haven't watched a ton either, and talk a little bit about it. But before we jump into movies, am I looking a little less red today? From last week's episode, yes. Like my
Yeah.
face was a tomato.
Honestly, I
last
thought it was your back that got it the worst. I don't
Oh, it
remember your
is.
face being that bad.
It
yeah.
got my face got burnt, but it was only noticeable for like a day.
So you really just got burnt from just when we were out on the barge? 'Cause
We
it's
were
really
out
only
there
like
for hours, bro.
2 maybe.
That's multiple hours.
It was cloudy.
It was more than one. Nah, it was pretty hot, dude. You had your shirt on for more of the time. I don't want to hear it.
Well, I mean, I was just kayaking for a lot of it.
But man, I got so upset when I got sunburned. Not because I was sunburned, but because I'm just so over how it's got to be this crazy, like, normal thing to where, like, this person's super hot. They got a tan. They're looking great. Why do tans matter? Why can't I be just pasty white and attractive?
Pale people problem.
Huh?
All right, Nate. Somebody who never goes outside.
I am a very white dude. And I don't know why this sunburn in particular got me so fired up and so heated on this topic. No pun intended. So heated on this topic because we were talking about it, and I just got so angry that I hurt everywhere because of a sunburn. And all I can think of is people that are like trying to get tans, like me, even though that wasn't the intention. And all they leave with is a burn that might eventually turn into a tan. And like I look more tan than I did before that happened, but still. I don't care. I'm just so over it. I'm so mad at people like getting mad at like being like, oh, you're so white. It's like I hate it.
It is kind of a weird thing.
Not like look, I'm a basic looking white dude. That's fine. You can make fun of me for that. But as far as like the shade of like how white I am, calling me pasty, I'm over it. It's so dumb. I hate it.
It is kind of weird. Like if you go back, obviously we used to do kind of like all the powdered face and like super white was super in. The tanned were those associated with having to work outside.
Yeah,
And
powdered
so
face and a wig.
So that's what you want to go back to?
Yeah,
like
powdered face, curly
powdered
wigs.
wigs, powdered faces.
Those are the people that made the laws. You know?
People who are darker in skin are lower. Is that what you're trying to say? Kind of a type thing. Kind of. I'm just trying to figure out where you're at.
The
okay.
second I said skin color, we had to turn it this way, didn't we?
Whatever, man.
You get sunburned?
Yeah, I get sunburned like pretty easily, but I mean, I have a little bit of like Cherokee Indian blood, so a lot of it actually just ends up I just tan pretty well.
You're Native American?
Probably like 1%.
1%.
Like probably 1 to 3%. Let's not
I'm
over exaggerate.
1/64th Jamaican. Can you tell?
Yeah, you could probably see it in my eyes. That's where it is. But yeah, I mean, I burn pretty easily because I'm also like mostly pasty, and that's just the way it is.
Why don't we just rename this podcast Two Pasty White Guys?
I'm not pasty, bro. Not anymore, bro. I'm dark.
All right, let's see it.
No, you're not.
Let's see
Look,
it,
dude,
bro.
honestly,
Golden
I think
brown.
I'm darker than you.
Golden brown, but I've got this going all
Wait,
across.
he's the darkest one out of the three of us.
It's
What
this
you
stupid
mean?
Cherokee blood or whatever the fuck you said.
It's because I would just work outside a lot of days, so you know I tan somewhat.
That's it. That's my whole rant for today. That's all I got before I jump into movies. How about you, Nate? Huh?
I have a thing that we need to address. It's big. It's a big deal.
That's what I'm hearing. That's what
Big
you said
deal.
before we started
Right.
recording.
It's Netflix. Netflix fucked up, man. This is bad.
Yeah,
pretty bad.
Yeah, it's
This is
kinda
like
gross.
this is like I wonder how many people had like gotten off of Netflix because of it, type of a thing. And so I'm sure by the time this is kind of because it's kind of like 5 days old now. It feels like, but Netflix dropped just the trailer for a movie that is supposed to be coming out in September, I believe, called Cuties. And I want Tyler, you included everyone to look up the poster for Cuties.
No. I'm scared. I
It's-
feel like people know about this, but I don't.
Yeah, I know. That's what's great about it.
Yeah, I honestly am kind of surprised that you haven't seen it
I was
because it's
half-
been everywhere.
Yeah, I
too.
know. Really been talked about. I don't know. What can you see?
I'm just looking at it. I haven't seen. I need to click images here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're not going to see anything. Well, you'll be fine.
So is this what we're talking about?
Yes, that's it. So this is a movie that's apparently already been made because it went to Sundance, I think, last year, and apparently won an award about an 11-year-old girl who, in Netflix words, joins a twerking dance group in against her more conservative, quote unquote,
traditional like,
parents. Yeah, it's in. I don't remember which country, but it's kind of some foreign country or whatever. But obviously, if you can tell from the poster, this is not cool. The actresses are 11 years old or around that age, actually that age, and they're wearing like skimpy, like dancing. It's gross.
I believe
Part of me wants to say, yeah, let's put it up right here in the video, but would we get flagged?
Honestly,
I
well,
believe they use the term sensual, like more sensual dancing, like in the like description for this show. Like I remember, I feel like I read that somewhere.
Did go and change both the cover and the description for it, and kind of gave like a soft apology. I really didn't like their apology though, because it was like they're like sorry that we put out we updated the description in the poster. Sorry that we went this direction for this film that won an award at Sundance. And I was like, your movie can still be pedo if you fucking won an award at Sundance. Like that doesn't change anything. That's like a weird soft promotion in your apology about exploiting 11-year-old girls.
I remember
That's
seeing
fucked.
that too. I saw something that was like, "Hey, sorry, we're just trying to make like movies and stuff that are more out there and like go to a different audience than what's more traditional than like a lot of people will want."
Well,
So
this
we've reached
audience
different
for this movie, no one should want. That's the worst one.
gross.
You should
It's
see
really
the
just kinda
trailer
gross.
had the dislike to like ratio is insane. It's like 8,000 likes to like 150 or maybe even 200,000 dislikes.
Most
now.
disliked? Because the most
No,
disliked...
it's still probably like YouTube Rewind or some
I
shit.
think the most disliked... Oh, I think it might have become the most disliked. But I think at one point it was like some Justin Bieber song.
Oh, the baby song. Yeah,
they
I
all
think that
decided
was
that-
it. Yeah. But it's man, it's fucking insane. And and I watched the trailer for this movie, and the trailer itself, I can't speak because right now the biggest problem is the promotional like things for that. Because in the trailer it seems more to be geared towards kind of this story of just a young girl trying to do something outside of the norm. But because they don't show a lot of like provocative. Good lord!
I swear I thought you were trying to. It sounded like you were saying Pearl Harbor. I was like, what?
A lot of provocative dancing in the trailer. There was like one quick clip where I was like, that seems bad. Don't do that.
That would be the weirdest movie ever. Pearl Harbor with twerking 11-year-olds.
I mean, I feel like they've already crossed the line with like what they've done now, and then you bring something else controversial into
Yeah,
it.
just fucking throw in Pearl Harbor. Who cares?
I mean, honestly, at this point, it might, improve the ratings. Who knows?
It's just honestly, it's not. What's a weird thing though is that they were saying it went to Sundance. A guy, one of the founders of the Sundance Festival, just recently got arrested on child sexual charges. And so I'm like, that is definitely not helping your case now, because not saying every movie that wins awards at Sundance is for pedos, but come on, there's at least a little bit of a correlation there.
Yeah,
so what do you think would like be able to fix like this problem? Directly pull it from Netflix and not like do a premiere?
I mean, honestly, from what I know, obviously the two things that they changed were the two biggest issues I can say. I haven't seen the movie. The movie might be a problem by itself. It might if you require 11-year-old actors to do like openly sexualized acts, like twerking is a sexual dance. There's no way around it.
Right.
No one's even hiding that fact. And what they're doing, I've watched both the WAP music video and the trailer for this, and the poster for this movie is not that far off from what happens in WAP. Those two things should be as far away from each other as humanly possible. And it's so if that's what the movie is, it actually has to do with like
then just
11-year-olds doing sexual dance. Someone needs to go to jail because someone required 11-year-old girl actors to do sexual dances for a movie. I don't care.
What kind of parents go, yes, take that role?
Well,
yes.
That's going to be a breakout.
There's plenty of parents who just want their kids to be famous actors that are like,
but again,
do whatever.
You can't just go, but yeah, because then I could just say, yeah, they're just trying to make money off this movie. Again, it's still terrible. Like,
no, I fully agree. I'm just saying I'm not surprised. Not that they should have done it or anything, but, God. I hope that the movie isn't like that and that Netflix just fucked up and tried to make it Americanized. Because like it to a much lesser extent, they already have this issue with those like really young pageant shows that they have. You remember Dance Moms and like all that shit where they would take like young girls to like beauty pageants. That's Boo Boo. Already a really fucking weird
Honey
like,
Boo Boo.
Yes.
that was all about the one girl. Can we a little tangent here actually. Honey Boo Boo's mom went to our high school.
No fucking way.
You know this.
I don't.
Or no, it wasn't our high school. I'm sorry. That's wrong. Went to the same high school as one of our high school teachers. Wasn't our high school, though.
Okay. I was about to fucking say, holy shit.
Still related in some way.
Same year as you guys, believe it or not.
Yeah, so one of our teachers, his name was Coach East. That was a baller class.
I remember that.
That was great. One day he tells us a story. He's like, you guys know who Honey Boo Boo is? And we're like, yeah. He's like, I went to high school with her mom.
He was too proud of that.
I would be too. I'd be like, look at this, guys. He brought his yearbook in one day and had us all pass it around just so like, well, because people kind of asked for it. Everyone was like, we got to see this. Like, a bunch of rowdy high schoolers.
Yeah, gosh. I had totally forgotten about like Honey Boo Boo and all that bullshit because that feels so far away now.
Do you remember the parody, the people who made parodies of Honey Boo Boo?
Yes. It was a College Humor back when College Humor was good. College Humor on YouTube, they made a 9-part parody where a dude in a fat suit was like dressed up as the lady, and it still is. It's fucking hilarious. It's amazing. Oh my God. If you find that, I can't remember what it's called, but it's awesome.
I don't know.
So, but yeah, but I guess the core point is that it's still this weird gray. I don't know why we have. Honestly, I'm not okay with like any of this shit. As long as we're opening Pandora's box, like young girls going to beauty pageants, young girls and doing cheerleading at like even high school cheerleading still is like a little bit to me is like feels a little weird. I don't know.
Yeah, because obviously when you go into like college football, college sports, like cheerleading is very much. Just cheerleading in general is now kind of weird when we talk about it.
It's weird. So I don't know how someone got this past, especially like, man, because all it is that it's young girls moving their bodies around to distract you from the fact that they're resetting for the next play. That's what cheerleading in football is. So,
all right, they're resetting. People are going to lose interest.
Quick.
What do we do?
Let's throw one of the girls. She's going to be wearing a skirt. And she's going to throw her legs in a wide split. I mean, she's wearing something under there, but it's suggestive. It's fine. Everyone will look at that and they won't focus on how nothing's happening right now.
You know what? That might actually work, sir.
Let's get all the fathers of the football players will have their daughters be in that too. So it's just extra layers of weird. Or oh god.
So let's go back to the obviously like super young age. I feel like that's like kind of. It does kind of seem like setting up for.
Well, especially in 11, 12-year-old. That's like full on pedo age. Like,
I mean, I think they do like competitive cheerleading even at like the elementary age at like rec centers and stuff.
Well,
like that.
I remember cheerleading when we went to school became an option in middle school.
Yeah.
But
there's rec sports too.
But
like,
I guess. But elementary, God, that's so young. I mean, there's probably lots and lots of women who absolutely love cheerleading and doing all this stuff.
Here's what I do want to say, because I don't want to. I have a friend who is was a male cheerleader.
Yeah.
And super strong. It's legit. Just depending on what you're doing, especially the competitive ones, it's a sport. I can understand the competitive side to it. Totally. It's just how did it come into play?
That's what I'm saying. Its inception has incredibly odd.
Right. It just when you think about it, but the competitive
and
side,
why do they
when
still
they're
dress
actually
the way they do, it's
when
just
you're choreographing. Well, I mean, I've seen dancers who don't do cheerleading, but dancers that wear like. I don't know if revealing is the right word.
You need stuff like even in ballet and stuff like that. It has to be like you have to be able to move in it, right?
But again, competitive cheerleading when you're choreographing dances and doing some stuff that is physically astounding and like hard to do, it's impressive. Those people are strong. So
sure.
But when you do talk about it's such a weird topic. It is.
Yeah, it's just this murky inception that's really odd to me.
But we're talking about movies. So.
Well, yeah, I just had to do with the
But I like Bill's
subject,
question of what, like, I actually think that's a good question of what should they do. I just think that it's, especially if it's very much like a movie about a girl who's 11 joining a twerking dance team, you just shouldn't. Netflix.
So here's the thing. I don't know if Netflix just got that wrong. Like, that's not really what the movie's about. If it's just more about some kind of form of dance that's not hypersexualized like twerking is. I mean, if it's just because there's forms of dance that aren't about that. So I don't know. I mean, they don't say twerking in the trailer for the movie.
That's what you said. You told me that.
No. They say twerking in the description on Netflix.
Oh, that's terrible.
So I'm saying, but that's what I'm saying. But in the like trailer, because I haven't seen the full movie. It's not out, at least to the public. First of all, I don't plan on watching this movie. But I'm saying, like, I can't speak for what's actually in it because I've just seen the trailer, and which it doesn't. Thank God I didn't see any 11-year-olds twerking in the trailer. That's all I'm saying.
What if a Netflix executive was like, "Oh, she's part of his new dance team. What's it? Oh, well, let's use the word twerking. That's a new hip
they
dance,
like that. Yeah,
dance
that's
term
that's
that
a
young
hip word. Everybody knows
can
that one.
Young people can relate to that. She's twerking. Twerking.
Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B just put out a video recently about WAP.
twerking?
So that's probably something everybody's on the train about right now. Let's go for it.
All right, as we wrap it up, solutions. Phil, what do you think they should do? You asked the question. Do you have an answer?
You were telling me when we were just talking about it casually earlier that you were kind of fine with it, right? Like you just kind of thought the movie would just come
This
out.
is what Nate does on our. He just tries to pin you on stuff you don't actually mean or say.
Actually, no. I feel like that's the opposite of how I feel.
You just feel like they should be able to express themselves, no matter the age or appropriateness or legality.
Nate really likes to try to put our guests in the lion's den. So.
Definitely not. Just gonna say no to that one. I feel like Netflix should probably pull this movie unless they want some like suits. I mean, I feel like there could definitely be some suits out there for this film.
Honestly, what they'll probably do instead of just pulling it, if they even were to have to edit some of it, they would, like I said, edit some of the movie, take out some of the parts that seem that way, try to cover things up. I don't know if I would see them pulling it. I think they just kind of should, though, because
if they pull it, it'll look like that they're wrong. That they actually did have like a
that is
especially
true.
if no one's seen it.
If
they'll look like oh shit, they really had like a pedo movie on Netflix. If they just completely pull it, you know what I mean? I'm more for them pulling it. Again, I don't really know what's in the movie, so I can't. I just know what the Netflix promotional
Do you think
team
reshoots would be like a viable?
Honestly,
solution?
I want those 11-year-old girls far away from that.
I
setup.
agree. Like, I don't want that, but like,
I don't want.
Yeah, we're
biting
talking
the
like what
back.
you think they would actually try to do to make it like to pull it off.
See, that's the thing. I just don't know because
I don't think
the
you
movie
can.
might come out and it might be perfectly fine. I can't imagine it's perfectly fine. I think it's gonna be
Not with
at
that, like,
least
image.
gray,
Yeah.
but it might not be like what we think or what Netflix made it look like.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. That's what I'm hoping for because that's the best case solution. Is
Well, now all we can do is wait. Until then, we got some other new movies we got to talk about.
yeah, some more fun stuff.
Riffing on that for a little too
not
long.
children. Great. Thank you.
So this last weekend, DC Fandom happened, which was like, I guess it was like an online event
Is that
where
a-
they like released a bunch of new stuff.
Is that a replacement for event they normally have, or
I'm
they always call
I'm
it
assuming they probably
Fandom?
did it in the wake of like the
Comic-Con.
Comic-Cons couldn't come out,
Oh,
so no,
okay.
like Marvel and DC couldn't, reveal all their stuff there, so they create their own little event,
Right.
which is cool. I'm down for it. And they dropped the Batman, a bunch of trailers for the Batman, for Wonder Woman 1984, and a teaser for Black Adam.
Yeah.
I want to break those down, and I want to start with Black Adam because we're going to start
That's
with the thing
probably
that
the
we
shortest
probably
one, too.
have the
Yeah.
least amount to say to the most, and I think we'll end it with Batman.
So I want to ask you because I think you know a little bit more about this than me. Black Adam is a Shazam villain.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me say this right out the bat.
Sure.
Not even about what the movie's about. Really, it's just touching on that a little is this trailer was just an excuse to put something out about Black Adam during fandom. DC fandom. Because
Yeah.
when I watched it, I
There's
was like, that
nothing
was
to it.
so pointless.
Yeah.
All they did was basically take concept artwork
Mm-hmm.
and then animate it, not to where it's actually moving, but you know what I mean, into like layered, like almost paper cut kind of thing, so
Right.
it's stylized.
Mhm.
It felt like they're like, we need to release as much as we can, get people excited. Let's release something about Black Adam. It just felt like
Well,
they
I was
were,
even thinking before that the opening, which is just a CG like corridor, like a sandy, duney corridor
The
that
whole
they
thing
flow
was
through,
like that,
and
though.
then at the end they just the very beginning. That's what I'm saying. It's like 3 corridors, a camera swooshes through. It's all CG, and then they show up, and it's the black silhouette of
The
just
Rock.
the Rock.
But
And
all
he
that
didn't
was
look
was
like
in-
he was in character.
all that was intro to the trailer.
Yeah.
Just like sometimes, directors or stuff, or even like, Robert Downey Jr. Here's a good one. I think it was Tom Holland
Yep.
made one of those in front of Far From Home and was like, watch it. But if you haven't seen Endgame, it does have spoilers. That was part of the reason they did it. But like, there's intros to trailers like that. But that was like super extra. Anyways, this whole trailer just felt like there was no substance. They just did it because they wanted to add more to their list to get out there. The storyline that it was basically like, let's get The Rock, put some concept art, and have The Rock voice over the plot of the script, but very vaguely.
It just seemed like more of his backstory.
It
really.
told nothing. All it said was, they were
There's like a
the
weird-
city was struggling and they needed a hero. They got me. Then they imprisoned me. I won't let it happen again. I'm like, I have no idea what's happening. That didn't help me at all. What
it's
good did this
incredibly vague.
The
do? It
only
just
thing-
didn't seem to add any. There was nothing to latch onto. It felt very much that they just threw it out there to have more with fandom. So I was like, it was the most disconnected I've ever been to a trailer. I was like, what? Why did we do this?
I mean, honestly, I'm not. I have no. First of all, I don't know anything about Black Adam, which is fine as far as like a comic book character. I don't know any. I'd never been a comic book guy, so a lot of them I never knew anything about. But Shazam was, it's okay. I'm not like, it's not on my list as like things I'm like actively looking forward to. It's just something that's going to come out and I'm going to watch because I watch most movies.
That's fine. I don't care about that. All I'm saying is it gave me nothing to grasp onto. Nothing of, this is what this movie's going to look like. This is what it's going to feel like. This is what it's going to be about. Didn't give me anything.
Yeah,
nothing.
no, the
It just
normal
literally
trailer vibes.
All it felt was, we're still making this movie. I was like, cool.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
Black Adam is he's Egyptian, right? He's an Egyptian. I think that was the thing about Black Adam.
I believe.
That makes sense from what I saw. It looked very like Egyptian-y, like that ancient city they showed
So
that
with
was
like
like magical.
that
and
little
shit.
like cartoon image, was that The Rock as like him before he got the same treatment as Shazam? I guess.
I don't really know.
It must
Again,
yeah,
I don't know.
It looks like The Rock, and he said that he was in prison for 5,000 years or something like that. I mean, yeah,
For trying to be the hero they needed.
Yeah, I can't
Okay.
remember.
yeah, it was very
Just
much.
from what I know about Shazam, I can't remember if he's like technically classified as an anti-hero because that seems to be like what they kind of do with movies like this. Because I don't know if you
Well, the
could
movie
liken
certainly
it to
wasn't
Venom.
an anti-hero.
The movie.
The movie Shazam.
No.
No,
He's talking about
But
Black
Adam.
supposed to be
I don't know what Black Adam's supposed to be. I mean, if he's having his own movie, then he probably isn't a straight up villain. I would imagine he's probably not going to be a straight up hero. It doesn't sound like either. So
It gives me like, I don't want to liken it to Venom, but like it just kind of gives me those weird vibes because like a lot of what Venom has been in like comics and like TV shows is Venom is a bad guy. But
Sure.
then you make this movie about him with Tom Hardy, and he becomes like a good guy and fights other symbiotes.
I think they leaned a little too much into the good guy vibe in the Venom movie. I was entertained by the Venom movie. Is it perfect? No.
Made
But
enough money to make a sequel. So
yeah.
you know,
money and good are not necessarily related.
Usually pretty far.
But my point is that I think they leaned too far into it. But Spider-Man's my favorite like comic book character, superhero of all time. So whether it's reading a few comics here and there, doing research on Spider-Man and all the stuff in the comics, if I haven't read them all, I do a lot of research. I started doing a little more about Venom because I knew quite a bit about him. But as he evolves, he does sort of become an anti-hero, but it takes a while. This jumped into it too much and too soon, I think, is kind of the vibe I got from Venom, the movie. But that's where I'm at. Anyways, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if
I just
it'll
want
be.
to see Woody Harrelson in that curly red wig, man, for Carnage. That's all I want.
No, they gave some teaser stuff and it's shaved. So
Damn it.
no,
I was going to make it so bad.
All right, I'll let you guys start. That's all I have to say because we don't have much to talk about. That's why I
Yeah.
was like, my whole takeaway was
Black
there was
Adam
a-
is. I'm just kind of It's just going to be another Rock action movie.
I'm not
to
even
me.
trying to make predictions of how good it's going to be. I'm literally just talking about the trailer. It's like I just have nothing to grasp onto. That's how far detached I was.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I don't really think they've really done much production on this film at this point. Like it seems
Probably
like it's
got
not.
screwed over by COVID.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and so
again,
they just
so like,
wanted-
why
yeah.
even? I don't know. It was just weird.
Well,
to me.
I
know.
mean, you put that name.
I
in
just
your
say don't
stuff
call it a
and somebody-
teaser trailer. That's my. I mean, sure, it's a teaser, but teaser trailers give you. I would be like concept of or concept video or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So like it didn't.
I mean, Warner Brothers still business. They gotta, keep those numbers up. They gotta be able to say like we got 3 new projects going opposed to 2.5.
all right,
mean,
let's.
You put that name in your lineup, that you're gonna grab like another few. I guess like some more audience members that wouldn't normally watch.
Yeah, and probably The Rock brings over people who like casual rock movies but don't like superhero stuff, like DC stuff especially. So they'll probably pull over like that.
Again, I'm fine with that's how people are going to watch it. But
Oh,
what does it have to do with this
No,
trailer?
I'm just
you know what I mean?
kind of talking at this point. Wonder
let's-
Woman 84.
Let's let
you
Phil
want-
start with this because Phil said,
Oh.
I have some opinions about this.
Oh, Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah, Wonder
okay.
Woman 1984.
Go,
the sequel.
Phil.
I don't know. Like it.
Now
I'm
he
at
doesn't
this.
know.
I'm just at this point with superhero movies in a way that it's like a lot of things have been done, and like a superhero movie in the 80s is actually different than I think a lot of things that we've seen. Like Guardians of the Galaxy, the first 20 minutes were like in the 80s when Peter Quill was born. But
Yeah,
like,
probably the first 2 minutes.
Well,
Yeah,
but
but,
it's
like, we
got
haven't
an
done
80s
anything.
vibe as far as like the music you listen to and like the that kind of stuff. And
I-
also it's like it's it's kind of like almost 80s sci-fi, a little bit like laser guns shooting around starships. I think the Guardians has a bit of 80s. I wouldn't really call not obviously 1984 is trying to go for like a real honestly too hard into it. People romanticize the 80s I think too much. I'm never really understood why people like all the weird like clothing and music and stuff like that came out in this period. But whatever.
What do you mean, bro? We just watched Back to the Future, and you were in love with Jennifer, bro.
Yeah. Okay. Hair on women in the 80s, I totally get. Everything else,
her new costume seems like over the top.
Does
in a
it
way
seem
to
like
me.
a lot of this trailer was devoted to like
Clothes?
Hey, Gal Gadot's hot. Did you remember that? Like, it's a lot of her doing like things to look hot. I don't know. Is
I
that
heard.
just
I
me?
could be totally wrong, but I heard that she wanted that new suit because it's less revealing, and she doesn't want
But
it to
that's
just be for
fine.
that.
I meant like when she's walking around in other clothes, like when she's going to like
Right.
fancy events and like a big long dress. I feel like there was a lot of slow mo shots of her getting up out of a car or like
Dude.
just walking around and stuff like that. I
You
don't
literally
know.
have to
It's
think
funny.
of every other kind of movie like this, though, because they do a lot of that with dudes, just like trying to make epic, type
See, I
shots of
remember-
them looking good.
I
Like,
remember there being like in every superhero movie, especially with like a lead hot dude, there's like one scene where
Nate
it's
likes
like
dudes.
it's like Guardians of the Galaxy. They have the Chris Pratt jail scene where you see him in like full abs or whatever, and then like Thor Ragnarok, there's like a scene where Chris Hemsworth's shirt. Like usually there's like one big scene for it, right? Like they don't like. And maybe I'm just blind to it, but I didn't feel like they did it like all the time.
you're not attracted to men in that way, so you just don't know, man.
don't-
Or you'd
you
be
don't know.
drooling.
You don't know.
You'd be drooling.
I'm not even saying that I was over. I mean, Gal Gadot is a very, very attractive woman. Don't come after me. But I'm just saying that, like, man, I just felt like a lot of this trailer was just like, boom, look at her. Boom, look at her. Like, it was that, I don't know. It's just, maybe I talk about this
wasn't a
stuff
lot of
too much.
I don't understand why they're bringing Steve back in this film either. I guess that's because
we've
They
talked
are
about this.
not talking about it either. There's no indication as far as like where I mean, he just shows back up. It's really they have to address it.
They
but it
did
feels
talk
like
about
they don't.
you remember that line in this new trailer that was like, it was kind of mentioned towards, I guess, Kristen Wiig's character Cheetos, like something like about you can have whatever you want or something like that, and maybe that's like Wonder Woman's desire in this film or something like that, and that's how that comes about. Like, I remember that line, and then it shows like a picture of Steve. So like, I don't know.
Maybe it felt like
So here's my thoughts on all this. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was just gonna say about this. It just felt like that Kristen Wiig's like villain is supposed to be like, I had nothing. You were born a god. Like, why can't I be as good as you? Type of it was almost kind of like the Black Panther villain type thing. Is like where like Killmonger's like that was. It's kind of the same motivation in a way.
Except this, I mean, I haven't seen this movie, but from this trailer, I didn't get a lot of substance from the villain. It just felt like she was like, I don't have things and I want things. I was like, that's it?
Yeah,
That's it? Like, this one I didn't feel as much substance from even...
Also,
like,
Kristen Wiig as like a cheetah lady.
I'm
this
kinda
is gonna
interested
be a
just
hard
because-
sell for me.
he's like, I'm into it.
I'm just because you never see Kristen Wiig do serious roles, and I'm interested to see like how she could pull off a serious role.
Look,
Well-
let's put it this way. Am I going to watch this movie?
Yes.
Yeah,
Um,
they already won.
now, the other thing that I want to talk about is the fact that they brought... What's his name back?
Steve?
Yeah. That they brought him back. We were like, why? First of all, why are you doing this? Because...
He had a meaningful death. He had a meaningful
it
ending
just,
to his
it just
character.
cheapens it a little bit, but at the same time, it wasn't even that. We were kind of like, why are you showing it? Like, that seemed like a big... But then after I
He's
thought
in
about
like
it,
most of the movie. It seems like.
and now that I've watched this new trailer, part of me is like, you know what? If they're gonna bring him back, I'm kind of glad they just showed us instead of trying to keep that a secret, because like too many movies try to do that. At least if you're gonna do it, just be like, well, he's back. He's back. Here he is, and just show us.
I wonder if they're gonna kill him again.
I mean, was he in Justice League?
Yeah, I
fair enough.
don't.
Although
think,
he probably 1984 to like 2014, he would have been 30 years older, so he would have been like 60.
So I'm not a big fan of her new suit. It looked kind of weird. Maybe it has to
It
grow
had
on me.
wings, which could
Yeah.
be cool. Maybe she should use the wings to not fucking, I don't know, lasso onto lightning. I can't stop thinking how dumb this is. It's just
Can we tear apart Nate
insane.
here for a second?
Like,
How do you-
It is a mystical whip. So why does it have to latch onto something physical? The end.
Because physics still apply in some way. She's like, she has to be able to pull herself up on something, and lightning isn't a thing. It's not a physical object. It's like a reaction.
Neither the whip has mystical powers to it.
So does the whip create light? Why does the whip? First of all we know about it is that it's strong and that it's a lasso of truth. And
Guess
now
what?
it makes lightning into a physical object.
The lasso of lightning is a thing in the Wonder Woman comic. So
It's dumb. It's still dumb.
I thought it might
I
have
mean,
some-
I can suspend my disbelief for a lot of like stupid shit, but like also like for
seems
the
so weird
for the
for you to
amount of
pick out,
time,
though.
well, like the lightning has to like stick around for the lasso to like stay on and stuff
maybe
like
her
that. There's
lasso
so much
allows
stuff.
her to like slow things down enough for her to grab onto lightning.
It really feels like one of the worst cases of this looks cool, don't worry about it. Just shoving in, hey, it looks cool, just fuck anything else. Just look at this.
I
look
very
how cool
much
it
disagree.
looks.
Partially also because it does have comic book accuracy, as far as I know.
In
When I
the
looked
comic
up,
books, they probably did the same thing. They wanted to draw her swinging from a lightning bolt. They were like, this will look cool in a comic book page. It doesn't mean it's any different.
well, what if it has something to do with like maybe Zeus or something? Because wasn't Ares the first villain?
Yeah,
of
it was the god of war. I don't even know. They've never mentioned a lot of like the whole Greek.
so if they give an
pantheon in
example
this.
of like she made some deal with Zeus or like she got some power from Zeus at the beginning of this movie, you'd be cool with it? At least it gives it a reason.
If they gave some explanation, it would be better. Yeah, other than just having you go.
I feel like they
"Accept
have
this."
to give some sort of reason. If she just goes, wow, out of nowhere, and you're like, what's going
I'm
on?
pretty sure that's what's gonna happen. I
Well,
don't
she
think
was
they're gonna
also pretty
bother
far up in
explaining
the
it.
sky. It looked like from the shot. So imagine it's like something to do with like a plane, and she jumps out during a thunderstorm.
And then uses that. Honestly, it feels like she doesn't even need to do that. She could just Captain America just smash right
Also,
into the
why
ground and be
she
fine.
can't
Everybody in
Ride the
DC
plane.
can do that apparently. Aquaman, the god
Yeah.
of, like, he's a water demigod basically and can just crash into the earth and not hurt himself. I'm like, what
Yeah,
is
we haven't
this?
really seen anything hurt Wonder Woman. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? It doesn't even when she fought Ares, it didn't really feel like she was in mass. Like, I never saw her get injured or anything. You know what I mean? So, like, I
I
feel
can't
like she'll be
speak
fine.
to that. I haven't seen that movie in a while.
Yeah.
I think it's something. Reading up on Wonder Woman, this has been a long time ago because I used to like look up superheroes when I became interested. Like her weakness comes from falling in love with a man. So like when she falls in love with a
I feel
man,
like that's not going to play well in our modern audiences.
Well, also, so you're going to bring him back just so she can have the same weakness again?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like as she falls more in love with a man, she like loses her invulnerability and invincibility. And
Oh,
stuff
so
like
it
that.
literally like drains her strength, not the fact that she just makes poor decisions in order to save people. Because that was like the whole Superman thing, is that like the way you get to Superman is usually
His
you
morals.
attack you attack the people he
Well, yeah,
loves,
yeah.
right? So I
Which
thought that's
his
what you
morals.
kind of meant. But yeah, I mean, same, I guess so. But
So yeah, concluding this trailer, it's just not a ton of substance.
I will say the cheetah, like when they're fighting, I did not like how either of those looked. Like when Kristen Wiig does like a spin move into like the air, it was like,
they got
I
that
was like,
Palpatine spin, bro.
yeah, I know, like, that doesn't look good. And then that weird, like when she's, I guess, gone full cheetah toward the end of the movie, where
Bro,
she's
what
like,
was that?
she looks a little bit too much like a Cats person from the movie
with a
Cats.
human face.
Yes, it was. I was.
yeah,
and
that one
The
was
CGI
weird.
looked weird. I was probably not finished, so I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Credit or whatever. But I was not sold off the first trailer, and this one's not selling me. Plus that joke at the end about like parachute pants that he makes. No, I feel like that's been done. Like, how many times has someone gone to the 80s and they're wearing something stupid and people are like, "What? People wear this?" And then they go, "Hee hee hee." Like, that's fucking. That's which has been done so many times. Let it go.
All right.
What do you like, Nate? Did you like anything about this trailer?
We
About
got
this trailer. I think Gal Gadot's still hot.
We got to move to the last trailer here because we're taking a bit.
This
to
is
get
the
to
most
main
interesting
topic.
for sure, right?
The Batman.
trailer with
It's the one I'm most excited for.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, yeah.
I
I mean,
mean,
I was already excited about
obviously,
this one, and it's cool. Batman's just cool.
Before seeing this trailer, it looked like they were going to show a lot. Like it sounded like they were casting a lot of villains for him, and they were going to do this like. I don't know. Maybe they're still going to implement into this movie. So we didn't know what the main villain was going to be
Yeah.
for the longest time. And was it going to be a group of them, or was it going to be more centered around him and not having a main villain?
Mhm.
And it's more of like how he's battling something with his detectiveness, whatever. But we are getting a main villain in some way, which he is
Riddler. It's
which
gotta
is
be,
Riddler,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is cool because it seems
Yeah, and I think the guys that you see toward the end of the trailer with like kind of the white faces kind of a thing and like the dark
Yeah.
thing.
Penguin's in
they're-
this.
I think they're. Oh, is he really?
the guy who plays him. He wasn't in his like get up, but yeah, the guy who plays him.
Gotcha. I didn't know they were trying to do
Was
a
it?
penguin thing. But like I think those are like. I think Jonah told me those were like acolytes of Riddler or something like that. So like it's not like a totally other thing as well as Riddler and Penguin, and Catwoman's in here for a second.
Yeah,
Which Catwoman's usually kind of like a really soft villain. I don't think she'll be.
she's
That'll-
like an.
That'll probably be
anti-hero.
something they'll be setting up more, you know what I mean, than actually someone he'll be fighting throughout the movie. They'll probably have like a quick fight, which will land in like kind of a romantic tussle at the end, and then he'll get all flustered and she'll get away. That's usually how that works. It's it's the weirdest part of this trailer is that like Batman's just chilling with cops and figuring stuff out in the day.
Yeah.
Super weird, right? Just seeing Batman in his getup, just in broad daylight, just
It
hanging
wasn't
out.
daylight.
Well, like he was in
It was-
there with cops, like
The lights were on inside, but it
well,
was at
sure,
night.
but like I mean, he wasn't hiding, and it wasn't just Gordon. It was like all the cops were, I guess, just chill with Batman, which is a weird thing usually, from what I understand. At least
Well,
from a movie's perspective.
From what I read like a short article, I guess, shortly after this trailer came out yesterday.
Yep.
And it was talking about how this is a year 2 Batman. Like this is the second year into him being Batman.
Right.
So like maybe this is
It's kinda
early on
nice that
into
we
his
don't have to
career.
see
So
all
like,
the opening stuff, but I'm just saying, like usually, as far as I know about Batman, he's usually on kind of a weird ground with cops.
which might this is a different take of how this is going to be kind of set up and progress with the character. So maybe he's that detective guy who the cops kind of trust a little bit at the beginning, and then the Riddler in this one might change their minds,
Yeah.
like turn him around and turn them against him.
this is going to be another dark take on Batman, right?
It's looking. I mean, like that. My favorite shot of this is when he's beating the shit out of that one guy at the end of the trailer.
I am vengeance.
Not what he says, just how he beats him up. It's great. Very.
I don't hate his Batman
very
voice.
Bruce-
It's not
it's
terrible.
not. It's not overly done, but
I
I
like
need
it.
to see a little bit more of it to kind of have a full opinion. But yeah, I'm fine with it as it is. He I think Pattinson. Yeah. He fits it pretty well so far from what I saw. I love the Batmobile in this. It looks dope.
So
Yeah.
it looks like
Yeah.
a Lambo, doesn't it? That's what it kind of looked
Yeah.
like to me.
It's kind of like a weird like sport muscle car, but added with jet boosters. It's like
And some
it's a little
spoilers.
bit more. It's like I like the Tumbler a lot from Nolan because it was like it felt more realistic
Yeah.
for him to kind of have this tank. But I like that this one's kind of more of a straight up car, and it's souped up. It looks more like just like souped up than it does like this super scientific type thing.
So a lot of people were like losing their minds over this trailer. It definitely got me interested. It definitely gave me some stuff to grab onto, what to expect, unlike the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited for it. But for me, it wasn't like, oh, like I'm just like there was, for me. And that, if other people got that from it, I can see why, because they love Batman, and this gave this cool gritty version of him, and I'm super down for it, and it's exciting. But there wasn't like a key moment that made me just go like lose my mind.
No, and I get that. And I think part of that is just because of how similar it does look and feel to the Christopher Nolan Batman. By how it's like shot and like kind of that kind of stuff. That's the whole vibe I was getting, is that it just feels like they're kind of doing a fourth one with just some recasts, because it just feels really similar, which isn't bad necessarily, but I do want it to be its own thing.
Right.
So I think it'll have a little bit of a hard time differentiating itself, but if it can, it should be something pretty good.
I assume that one guy. I mean, the Commissioner Gordon looks like more of like a cartoon Commissioner Gordon to me. Like if you've seen any of the DC
I think
animated
it's the guy
films.
from Westworld. It was the guy who's like kind of reading out part of it.
No,
is the black guy with the mustache?
No,
that looks like he could be Fox.
That's a different guy, I believe, because
I don't think Fox would be there.
Gordon
That's weird.
was supposed to be. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of something else. I was thinking of Alfred for some reason in a certain scene, which we actually don't see him.
It looked like there was like a.
We hear him.
It looked like it could have been a mayor, or maybe.
So maybe that was Gordon. I don't know. I don't.
Well, he was just in the
would
middle
vote
of the
with
thing.
yes.
Yeah, but
Like
he's
the guy
surrounded
talking to
by
Batman.
police.
right, and he's the one holding up the letter, and he's like red.
And maybe that's why. Maybe the police don't fully trust him because he's kind of vigilante, but like he's proven that he is the guy that is going after the right people.
Yeah, that guy, Jeffrey
cool.
Wright. Yeah.
So he is going like that. He is going after the right people, and he's doing what he needs to do, and actually smart with what he's doing. And so Commissioner Gordon is the guy who kind of vouches for him. And he's kind of the only person that talks directly to him. Maybe that's how they do it.
It's fucking Andy Serkis as Alfred.
Wait, what?
Andy
Is
Serkis
Alfred?
plays Alfred. That's gonna be hilarious,
awesome.
right?
I mean, Jeremy Irons, who was Scar, played Alfred last time. So
yeah,
like,
and I liked Irons. He didn't get enough screen time, but he was. Jeremy Irons.
So consensus all around. Excited for this movie, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
for
I'll
sure.
watch it definitely. This
fucking
is
Paul Dano is gonna be the Riddler.
All right. So before we jump into our main topic, one quick note about Batman. I don't know if you guys heard, but Ben Affleck did sign on to replay Batman, to reprise the role as Batman in the new Flash movie, which I think will be Flashpoint or something.
They're doing like a live action Flashpoint with Ezra Miller still. Okay,
And
I'm
signed on.
down for that. Because I think Ben Affleck can do a cool like alternate universe like Batman.
Yeah, you could, if you like what the traditional Batman is, and that's kind of what we're gonna get out of the Batman,
right?
And then you have this alternate, like, why not? That's kind of dope.
Well, yeah, and especially since like when you mix Batman with the rest of the Justice League, it gets really like Batman changes a lot in as far as his role and who he is, because obviously like Batman and his solo stuff when he's just running around beating up like much more normal crime feels out of place in Justice League. So in Justice League, normally they make him like super smart, and he's like heading all of the technology, and he's kind of like leading everywhere.
And they did
which I'm cool with that role
too.
too.
They did do a ton of that in the Justice League. The Justice League movie was terrible. But that's a whole other topic.
Well, Snyder Cut. Fingers crossed for Snyder Cut. Who knows?
All right.
I
Cool.
like the violence in this one, to be honest. Like, it sounds kind of weird, but like, I don't think Batman did he break an arm really in the Nolan movies? You know, like, they'd come right out of the gate swinging.
Think he did. I think he did some like. I mean, this one that one shot in the trailer feels more
so
brutal.
Sorry.
But
I'm gonna do. I got it before we drop this topic. Hot take: the Nolan movies were very good. But the Batman could have used some work. I like some of the takes that they did with Ben Affleck's Batman. How he hit the fighting styles, the fighting techniques, especially that warehouse scene in Batman v Superman was incredible. But like nothing to me stands out when thinking back to those movies of his one-on-ones when he's fighting with people or doing anything interesting action-wise or doing even a ton of interesting stuff with like technology or being super smart, because he kind of gets other people to make his stuff for him. Like his character, I'm not saying is completely flat. That's not what I mean. I'm not saying it's not good, but it's not as dynamic and incredible as I believe that everyone else thinks it is. Now in the second one, where he played off of Heath Ledger as his Joker, he shines because of who he gets to play off of. That was really strong character development. But the other movies, nah.
So
Sorry.
Batman.
Fight me.
Christopher Nolan's Batman is his whole character is all about the morality of the situation and really not about detective work or kind of any of the flashier aspects of it. Which I too like. I'm excited. I feel like I want this one to be more detective style Batman, where he's kind of like figuring shit out. And Nolan, he just kind of, I don't know. You're like you said, he has other people and they kind of all put together and figure stuff out. It doesn't feel very detective-y anyway, and especially since a lot of the fighting scenes in the Nolan one, especially in the third movie, are pretty bad. Like whenever you see him like running around just like punching in broad daylight. But some of the stuff he does in Batman Begins is really cool. In the earlier part, as far as it's very Batman-esque, it's like ripping guys into the shadows and like you don't know what's that kind of stuff. But yeah, but I'll mostly agree that like he does feel by himself a little underwhelming.
Yeah. It's the other elements of the movie that make those so great to me. For
the most part, yeah.
Any final thoughts? Batman, super cool. You know what's cooler? Anime.
Ooh, hot take.
Yeah, I totally agree on that one.
I don't think anime is cooler than Batman.
Definitely took us longer to get to the.
Not there.
Definitely took us longer to get to the main topic today than usual, but we had a lot to cover, which is very rare.
Yeah, really.
You usually don't have any movie news.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff this week too.
It's all DC stuff. This is like DC's.
Well,
DC
even outside of that, with the other stuff, it just felt like movies were at the forefront.
I saw a trailer for the new Mutant, the new Mutants. Like look at a little teaser. It said August 28th.
Okay, New Mutants has been pushed back like 8 times.
Yeah, I was about to say. I feel like I saw a trailer for that like 2 years ago.
I saw a set date that it was like August 28th. So it makes me wonder like are some
we thought everything was supposed to start coming back out in August and then nothing did.
Okay.
So there's no way a new movie is going to come out this month.
It seems like to me a lot of superhero movies are actually transitioning to like a more horror type thing.
The real release for the New Mutants has been delayed 4 times.
Wow. Damn.
And each time has been like almost a year or at least 6 months.
And this is the
It's
one.
been like 2 to 3 years of delays, and everyone's like, "This movie's never going to happen," and no one ever talks about it anymore because no one even knows what it's going to be about anymore because it's changed so much.
It's like a horror, like a slight
That's
horror
what the
type thing.
original trailer I saw, and it's got doesn't.
It's got old girl from Game of Thrones,
yes,
right?
And then Anya Taylor-Joy has been a bunch of stuff, and the kid from Stranger Things, and some others. Yeah.
All right, enough superhero talk. Can we talk about anime now?
Yeah, we can totally talk about anime. I'm down.
So, as far as I'm aware, outside of one episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is arguably not anime since it was made, I guess.
That was
Western
actually
style.
a question I was going to ask you: is do you consider Avatar anime?
I'd say no because it was made like in America. I mean, it may have like
yeah, I guess.
I mean, there is American anime. We can say that there is American anime. The company Rooster Teeth makes a web series called Ruby. So I don't want to rule out the fact that it being American automatically rules it out as being anime. Mm-hmm. But I'd still say that Avatar would probably just be a cartoon. Like in my opinion.
How do you what is is there any kind of definition that people have come across? I love how we're kind of like saying, resident anime expert here.
Well, he clearly knows more than we do about it.
This puts me in a tough spot. Like, I don't know if there's like a special definition of anime, but it's generally just like, I mean, it's just like a cartoon, right?
Stuff that falls within a certain art style for the most part. I mean, not a certain. They can obviously play around with it because I feel like they all look a little different as far as all the different types of shows.
But there's obviously a lot of different like studios. Like studios are big in Japan, like for stuff like that. So
and they all kind of have their own take on an art style, but it all feels like it's coming from this, because I haven't seen any anime, but I've obviously seen lots of clips and stuff from things and memes and social media and stuff. So like I know how they look like. You know what you see it kind of a deal.
Yeah.
So
I would say
just out of curiosity, because I always like to look up the definitions of these things if we kind of don't know, just to see if we agree with this or not. Anime, the definition is a style of Japanese film and television animation typically aimed at adults as well as children. Now, a related question underneath it is, why is Avatar not an anime? Well, their definition is what?
I was going to say it's probably not because it's not aimed toward adults, right? It's kids.
So technically, it says, by definition, an anime is the product of Japanese animators, so Avatar series cannot be anime as it was created by 2 Americans. But then there's another question. It's called, what is American anime called? And the answer is just no, because American made anything won't be called by a Japanese name. Anime is the Japanese short term for animation, and we know that American-made animation is called a cartoon. So technically speaking, I guess, but I don't know. I'm curious because you are somebody that appreciates and loves anime, and I would venture to say there's American-made anime that other people that are very into anime would say it's anime. So I feel like the whole Avatar is partially based on this, but also just the fact that it seems to be aimed, maybe not even aimed more towards kids, but just the way that it's presented seems more cartoonish than it does your stereotypical anime. Like it's a little too far off that spectrum. Am I right?
Yes, I'd say so. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I definitely appreciate Avatar, less so Korra. Yikes. I mean, I don't want to open that can of worms. Like, that can of worms is like a real, like, one to get into because some people love it, some don't. But, yeah, I'd just say it's weird, you know? Like,
yeah, because I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but quickly, it's just so it's saying animation basically made by Japanese, right?
yes.
What if there's a Japanese person living in Japan but studies how we're doing animation and then makes it in Japan as a Japanese person but makes it how it looks like an American cartoon? Is it anime? You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't think so. I think it does have to do with style more than
also,
even just it's made by an American.
Also, if you were like, if we were super hard about cartoons, like, no, you're not American, you can't make a cartoon.
Well,
we wouldn't get away with that.
Like, what happens if, like, say a Japanese person lives in America but makes an anime here? Is it, like, not anime or is it anime, you know? Like,
Japanese American anime.
Like, how do you say that? Because, like, the Ruby TV series or online series was, I think the original creator was of Asian descent. So, like, maybe, like, I don't know how you get away with, like, it'd be like, oh, but it was made in America, so it's American. But, like, the original creator of the show.
Yeah,
I don't think that it's okay. I don't agree with sticking to this specific definition. I think it's more of the of like I think you need to ask the artist to kind of make it and the people who enjoy it and get kind of an agreement of like that it kind of has to do more with the style. Because again, if you find somebody who's Japanese, lives in Japan, studies how Americans make cartoons, let's say he draws Mickey Mouse exactly like the original, that's anime now? No, I wouldn't think so.
I mean, it'll probably sound weird coming off and saying this, but, like, I guess anime is like an art form in a way. You know?
I agree.
So, like,
it's a medium.
Yeah, so people who, like, appreciate
canvases
will appreciate it for whatever it is, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, I think it's one of those things where you can't really define it, but you know it when you see it. Kind of a deal.
Yeah, like,
for the most part.
there's a lot of different studios, and they,
Yeah.
you know, like Nate said earlier, there's a lot of different, like, animation styles, but, like, they all kind of have, like, bigger eyes.
Yeah.
However,
They all
if
say
you look up
"Agoo"
a description, they will
Did you
say
hear
that none of those
Agoo
people...
once during the movie we watched? No.
She said goo.
Oh, the goo monsters,
Yeah.
I think she said, or something.
All right,
Yeah.
so definitions aside, we watched a movie by Studio Ghibli. Is that
I say Ghibli, but-
Ghibli?
I say Ghibli, but that's just me.
I don't know.
Giblets. And more specifically, the main guy behind that studio,
Miyazaki.
Yes.
A world-acclaimed
Yeah.
Japanese
Like
anime
the biggest,
artist.
Yeah. He's like, you know, I don't know what the
Everybody
Western
knows. I don't want to
comparison
say
is, but
everybody, but especially if you're in anime, and even for us who have not watched really,
like
any
I had
animes,
heard of like Spirited Away.
I've heard of, but
Yeah.
you've heard of Studio Ghibli or Studio
Yeah,
Ghibli or
yeah.
whatever you
With,
want to say.
Disney, like, kind of acquired, like, the rights to, like, distributing those movies in the U.S. in the 90s and stuff.
Right.
So that's why
That makes
you'll
sense.
see a Disney label on, like, a lot of Studio Ghibli movies up until now,
Mm-hmm.
when they've been, like, acquired by G-Kids. I don't really know a lot behind G-Kids, but they are a global distributor for, like, a lot of different, I guess, like, indie-type animation films.
Mm.
So we watched Howl's Moving Castle.
Yes,
We
which is
did
one of his
Well-known.
like biggest, I
I
guess.
think it was
or
a
well-known.
2003 film, so it's
Yeah.
well on into his career. So, yeah.
So I think that we should jump into kind of what we feel about it and then break it down. But before we do that, we like to give a little synopsis, and I'm going to hand that off to...
Phil, please. I'm not equipped to synopsize
All right.
what happens in this movie.
So basically, there's a girl, main character named Sophie, who starts off in it like she makes hats basically, and she encounters a man, don't know his name at this point, Hal, along the road, and then they just kind of interact for a little bit, and then she gets cursed. I want to talk about the curse later on because, like,
Yeah,
I
so
feel
try
like
not to
the
give
curse.
too many spoilers in
Yeah.
this, because if you haven't seen it, we are going to be talking... This whole... 99% of the show is spoilers. We
Yeah.
like to talk about how we feel. If you haven't seen it, you probably shouldn't be listening. Listen to the movie news section and then
Yeah.
pretty much turn off. We will give you a spoiler review. Then we're going all into it. So
Yeah, pretty much. And then she spends the rest of the movie with this wizard, and then
It's like set in this weird alternate like magic, but it's also like 1919 like World War One type Europe. It's
mixed with like steampunk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
steampunk and like magic and
cool
shit.
setting. I like this.
It's an
cool
interesting setting, yeah, for sure. And then all this kind of shit goes down. Yeah, it's just magic, but also steampunk stuff. It's a cool thing, but it's also kind of a love story, maybe.
I'd say it's probably a love story.
Yeah, it
'cause,
feels.
I mean,
like
it seems like they have a
is.
lot of interaction throughout the movie for it not to be a love story. Plus the ending,
Yeah,
it's definitely a love
I'm
story.
struggling to like put this into a
It's
genre,
based off a book.
though.
It's based off
yeah,
a book.
yeah. I read that. But like normally if you're recommending a movie to someone, like if I like blank things in movies, I'll goes, I don't know where to throw this.
Anime.
Is this what all of them are like? That like I just
mean,
don't know what to think of them.
a lot of anime like shows and stuff, like there's a protagonist and they interact with like another like protagonist in a way, and like
And then
sometimes
they fall in love.
yeah,
Well, yeah,
basically.
but obviously that's all movies ever, is that people interacting with other people for the most part. But I'm saying like, it's not. This isn't like super action adventure, although it has elements of that. It's not super
little
love
spice of
story,
life,
but it's
dude.
got a little bit. Yeah, it's just
Spice
yeah.
everything.
You gotta love
this-
that slice of life
slice
anime,
of life
bro.
that no one's ever lived because this world is insane.
Yeah. So let's get into how we feel about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, this movie basically she encounters
it's
the
weird
wizard.
and wild and wacky, but
she then kind of lives with the wizard and that whole kind of group for a little bit, and then her main purpose, I feel like at the start, which isn't giving anything away, is to try to fix her curse. And then she runs into
Sure.
a lot of other things and dives into the world of Howl, which then raises a lot more issues, and then she gets pulled into that and tries to solve those along with solving her curse.
right.
Is that a good? I feel like that's a pretty good synopsis.
Yeah, I think
And then
that's pretty
things
good.
happen, but you can't really talk much about it.
Yeah, not here.
So
all right, I guess we'll start with. I feel like we should start with Nate.
Yeah, because he's the dissenter in this
yeah,
situation.
so I have, I mean, it's mostly a joke when I say like I hate anime and stuff like that. Really, I just haven't really seen any of it, and it's what I really, honestly, like. Just like weeb stuff in general just feels like it's gone way too far with like body pillows and like weird anime shit. Like all that kind of stuff is usually more of what I'm talking about, with like just fucking weirdo. Like it's usually white people weirdos is the problem I have with anime. Is
You're falling into the meme part of it and not the actual. Like,
yeah,
true
that's the
art
thing.
form
I
of
know
it.
nothing
Yeah, bro,
about
it's
the actual
otaku.
part
It's
of it.
otaku,
Okay,
bro.
shut the fuck up. So I watched this movie and
Oh, that's good.
Hey, you did.
thanks, man. I know I gave it my best shot.
I'm proud of you for watching anime.
I don't know what to think of this because there's elements of that I think are really cool, and then there's a lot of it that I just don't. I usually don't like to give this kind of response, but I just don't understand.
Oh my goodness, we've
I
done
know.
it. I'm
I've
leaving.
been
I'm
stumped.
done. Thank you for watching this
Yeah,
episode of
we've-
That's Smooth Brother. Follow us at That's Smooth Bro on Instagram. Follow Phil wherever. I'm leaving because that's it. We've stumped Nate. I'm out.
It was a great episode to stump, to stump him too. Episode 50 was the one
Yeah,
that
that was
killed
it.
Nate.
You just wait for 100, buddy. every divisible by 50, we're doing anime.
Because like, okay, so I mean, I understand like the core what happens in the story. That's all fine. But like, why people do certain things, especially our main character, I don't understand why or what's happening for what reason. There's a lot of vague in this, which some people like. I'm not one of those people. I like things to be defined and like, kind of told you what's going on because then I can attach myself to it more. And I feel
You don't
like
like
I
being
know
told
more.
what's going on, but you like to at least be, if not told what's going on, be given clues to
figure it out
But
yourself.
You feel like you weren't
Yes.
given enough clues.
No,
to
I don't
figure
want
out.
you to. I don't want a main character to like. If this movie started out with like a big long narration of the world, I would have tuned out in like 3 minutes.
Well, another good example is Enemy, which we watched.
Yeah.
That doesn't tell you what's going on, and you love it because of that.
Yes.
So it's not
But
that you want to be told.
Yeah, they're very different vibes because like a movie like that is where you're unraveling a mystery as the viewer, opposed to this where it's the world doesn't feel like it's hiding. The movie doesn't feel like it's hiding things from you. You just don't quite grasp why everything's happening and for what reasons.
Like, what's kind of confusing?
Well, we'll get more into it. We're still in like the pre-spoiler section. I don't want to talk too much about the actual specifics. That's just kind of my hot take. I want to be able. My goal here is I want to either love or hate this by the end of it. I want to have not that maybe the harsh of an opinion, but I want to have a definitive opinion after having kind of dissected it.
Well,
because I don't have one right now.
Maybe not seeing anime, this would make it maybe like a tough thing to like start you off with, because like also you gotta think like this is a different culture than like maybe American cartoons of what you're accustomed to. So like maybe they're not like gonna hold your hand as much as like an American cartoon.
That's not really what I want.
You gotta have to like watch between the lines a little bit.
Okay, well,
okay,
we can get into the problems there because anime, especially animation like this movie specifically, feels like you lose all sensibility of subtlety of facial expressions. The only facial expressions you can really see are the big ones, like ooh, ah, you know, like I'm afraid, I'm in shock. There's no subtlety to conversation in this. You know what I mean? Like I can't tell from their faces anyway, like how they're mean about certain things. You know what I mean? It's so. Again, it's not that it's too intellectual for me. I really don't think that was it. It's just that
don't you dare insult him like that.
It feels strange. Like what happened in this movie feel odd more than anything. But we'll get into that.
Okay, so I guess I'll go next. First of all, I'm happy that Nate didn't come out and say, "Oh, I hate this."
Yeah,
because I
really went into it thinking like I'm not gonna hate this. I'm probably gonna like it more than I think I am. Like, let's go. Let's get into this. Yeah.
So I'm glad that there were elements that you said you thought were cool and you really liked instead of just being like, "Yeah, this is the whole thing." Nah, I'm out. And I will say that on a certain scale, I am similar to where you are as far as not understanding certain parts of it. So I'm excited to break this all down together. Right. And some of the things. So this is basically what I said when I was done watching it. I said I liked it. It was enjoyable. I had a good time, and it allowed me to. It pulled me in enough to want to know what was happening next, and I was entertained in that way. But there were some things story-wise and character-wise that didn't make sense. Not that I didn't understand, but that like. I'm sorry, not that I felt like I needed to piece together like, oh, I have to figure out why. There's a good answer. I just have to figure it out. It felt like that doesn't make sense. They just shouldn't be doing that. There were a couple moments like that. Mm-hmm. So a couple of the story and character things didn't quite work for me. But again, I am more on the side of not just not knowing. I enjoyed like experiencing this new sort of style and just like fun adventure. And there were, the way that they did do their subtleties, not maybe in expressions and stuff like that, but just in the art form and the artwork and all that stuff was super cool. I enjoyed that a lot. I really didn't actually say what I've seen anime-wise before this. I know we had this whole conversation about Avatar, but I'm still in the process of watching it, and I sometimes I just like watching, and I call it a cartoon. Sometimes I just like sitting down and watching a cartoon, just being a kid again, like sitting down and watch a cartoon. That's what watching Avatar was like. It's fun, and apparently it gets even better as it goes, and more geared towards adults. But like fun little superpower cartoon stuff, like that could be fun.
I'll tell you what, the detail of animation going from Avatar to this leagues better.
Oh yeah,
oh my god, that show is lazy as fuck. I was so surprised. Especially, I only watched the first episode, so maybe it was like their pilot where they didn't have a lot of money, and it's a show opposed to a movie where they have to make 1 billion episodes or whatever. But man, I was really surprised by like how bad.
Well, like the Legend
this is all hand drawn. So like every image from this is hand
every
drawn.
Disney movie is hand drawn. It doesn't look like the world they're interacting with, and the characters are two totally different planes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's why Miyazaki is known as one of the fathers of anime, pretty much, just because like he set such a standard for anime.
Yeah, but even like the pop stuff, like the trendy stuff that I've seen, like snippets of, like there's that superhero anime,
My Hero Academia.
Yes, I've seen quite a few snippets. That seems to be a popular one, and like the animation in that feels like it looks good as far as like everything looks fluid and like action seems like it goes well, and like it looks it looks well put together, and I mean that's much more current than this movie or even the first episode of Avatar. But I was just surprised on how you have your character. They look like sock puppets, and you had if you're doing like a sock puppet show, and they've got like that shitty background. Like the characters are up here, and you've got this shitty background, but they're not interacting.
Like
with
the
each other.
saturation is different.
Yes.
It's not as
completely
well defined.
different.
It's
yeah.
not outlined.
It's
as well.
like it's a better example is when you're playing like a video game, and you can tell that okay, I can't go through that door because it looks like a wall, but I can go through that one because it's been textured. That's what Avatar is like to me.
Okay, but anyways, the whole reason I brought that up was because I've seen
yeah.
some of Avatar, and I have seen what is the same studio, but he does a movie about a pilot.
Oh, Porco Rosso, the one with the pig pilot.
No, it's a dude.
Oh, are you talking about The Wind Rises?
Yes.
Okay.
I've seen part of that. I've seen parts of these movies for some reason. But isn't that one 4 hours long? Isn't that one super long?
They're all venture around the 2.5 hour mark around
because this one was 2, which is a normal movie, and 2.5 isn't too bad. But for some reason, I thought one of them was super long, so I didn't get through it.
That one's just. I think that what
cut.
maybe makes that one seem longer is it's just really sad.
Okay.
To me, The Wind Rises. I watched it one time. And I went over to this girl's place and we watched it, and I was like, I don't like this. This makes me really sad. I'm not gonna spoil it, but it's
Yeah.
it goes from oh, this is enjoyable to
Oh God.
Yeah, I looked it up just to make sure. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. So
The
I
last
watched
film.
part of that. I've watched parts of some of this stuff. So I would say I have a little more than Nate. I knew kind of what to expect going in, at least style-wise, and even a little bit of pacing and kind of how that worked. But I've never sat down and watched a full one ever. So yeah, I pretty much explained kind of what I liked about it and the parts that worked with me. So Phil, without spoiling, I think we know that you
I like it. I just like everything. This was this is one of the later Miyazaki films that I've seen. So I had watched the first one I saw was Princess Mononoke, which came out in '97. But I watched that one in I guess 2016, right out of high school. But I saw that one, then Porco Rosso, and then Nausicaa, and My Neighbor Totoro, which is one of the classics that a lot of people like, and then Spirited Away obviously is the big one. You mentioned Miyazaki, everybody's oh, Spirited Away.
Yeah, because I feel I remember watching ads for it as a kid on
Really?
TV and stuff like that, and I was always weirded out. I was like, "What is all this?"
I
This
think
isn't-
that
this isn't cartoons.
This probably could have been the first one to actually have an American release. I feel because that was the top grossing Japanese film until Your Name came out in 2017.
My name. But yeah, so this one specifically though, I mean, you'd seen it before. Is this up there as far as on your list?
Miyazaki films. This is probably. I mean, it's in my S tier or A tier of Miyazaki films
Gotcha.
because
Pretty high.
I mean, yeah, Princess Mononoke is probably my favorite, but Howl's Moving Castle I read somewhere that was Miyazaki's favorite of the movies
I also
he had
read
done.
that on Wikipedia. Yeah, for some of the stuff. Apparently, it's actually really. I mean, it's pretty obvious when you're watching it, but that it's anti-war. But this movie is also specifically about the 2003 Iraq invasion. And I was like, oh, I didn't get that watching it, but I don't remember Saddam Hussein popping up halfway through. But yeah, whatever.
I mean, I guess I could see that.
All right, so you got 3 levels. You got Phil obviously loves it. I definitely enjoyed it. I like it. And then you have a middle. But we don't have a hate yet. I know you said you want to get to that.
I could get there. I don't know though. I love Billy Crystal, man. When he showed up in this movie, I was like, oh fuck yeah, dude. He's hilarious.
What about when Christian Bale showed up? Was you
I knew Christian Bale was gonna be in this, and he just does his gravelly hey voice.
Do you
or
think
whatever.
this was what got him to Batman?
I don't think so. No, actually,
When did Batman Begins come out?
2000 and it was around this time. 5.
This is Howl's Moving Castle is 2004. So
Yeah,
this is what got him Batman, guys.
This made it. Wow.
Was it dubbed? I don't know. Maybe I'm a heresy because I don't know if it was dubbed.
So who
the
did
same
Billy
year.
Crystal play in this?
The
Calcifer.
fire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah. So I guess just go straight into it from here. Spoilers on here.
Yes. Let me start on a lighthearted note.
Mm-hmm.
Is that my
fine,
favorite part of this entire movie was all the goofy little characters.
So
Loved
like
it.
the fire.
Yes.
And
What was the fire's
the
name?
Calcifer?
Calcifer.
Calcifer. And then my favorite guy is the
Turniphead?
Scarecrow.
Yeah, Turniphead, the Scarecrow,
Mhm.
which he gets completely cucked over at the end of this movie,
Yeah.
and it's hilarious, but also like, what the fuck? Like, I have thoughts about that because honestly, I'm shipping Sophie
Turniphead and
Sophie and
yes,
Turniphead?
Yes, she was there for the entire time. Hal was kind of a piece of shit.
I
know what's-
agree. She
Boom.
should be with Turniphead.
Boom.
You know what's also crazy? The entire plot of this movie actually revolves around Turniphead.
Yeah, he makes everything happen, bro. Without Turniphead, none of this shit goes down.
Turniphead, he was the prince. Oh wait, are we in spoilers now?
Yeah, we're in
Okay.
spoilers. Yeah.
So Turniphead was the prince of the kingdom that was invading everywhere. I think to
I
find
didn't even
his
know
prince.
to the end. I guess he was like, oh, I guess
And
there
I'm
was a prince missing.
And I'm assuming that he was probably put under a curse by, what's her name? The Solomon or whatever?
I would say
don't-
either Solomon or the Witch of the Waste. I don't
know.
don't-
Solomon, I feel like
Yeah,
he didn't want the war, and so she's like, all right. Because at the end, it was
Wait, hold
like,
on.
tell him
Solomon's
to stop the war.
lady, the not the wicked witch lady, the big
real
fat one,
evil lady.
but the
real
the one that they
antagonist.
go to, who's sitting in the chair, and she's
Oh,
like,
yeah,
and
that's
also an older
Solomon.
lady. Yeah, okay, that's Sol. Okay, just making sure.
So, yeah, my favorite part about this movie were all the fun little characters. You have Calcifer. You have
I love watching
Turniphead,
his
the
little
dog.
ass-
The
oh
little
yeah, the
dog.
little dog
I
is
don't remember
great.
his
Yeah.
name.
I don't think he had a name. I think it was just
No,
Old
at
dog?
the
He
end,
was,
it was like something Een. Or was it just Een?
No, you're right. It was he did have a name.
I'm looking it
I
up.
just remember it was Solomon's dog.
Howl's
To be honest,
Yeah.
Castle.
Dog was dope. I love
Dog
watching
name.
Calcifer just try to stay on a log.
Yeah, it was Heen.
yeah.
H-E-E-N. Heen.
Huh.
So, Heen, Turniphead, Calcifer. I thought there was one more. Am I
I
missing
mean, there's
one?
the little boy, but he wasn't really a
Yeah, not-
like a
not
he was
Yeah.
like
side
a super
character.
funny.
I tell you what, one of the funniest quick scenes in this movie, I don't even know if it was supposed to be, but when she first gets cursed by the wicked witch, they quick shoot to an empty street, and then the goo guys are holding the carriage, and they just run by really fast and goofy, and then it's over. They smash cut back to Sophie, and I was like, that had me laughing out loud. I was like, what the fuck was that?
But they kept me entertained. Calcifer was one of, if not my favorite character of this
yeah,
whole movie. I
Billy
don't
Crystal's
know.
perfect.
I mean, yeah, obviously the voice actor does
Because
have a lot
Mike
to do with it.
Wazowski vibes, full through.
I mean, yeah.
Mike Wazowski vibes.
Um,
But yeah, he I felt like he had such a big. Obviously, he moved to the castle. He was a part of Howl. Obviously, he had his
Yeah.
heart and all that stuff. But he was such an integral part of the story, and I feel like there was. I don't know. I feel like there was a lot of development and just even when he was just kind of doing some of the same stuff over and over of just saying obviously make sure I don't go out or just being kind of what are you talking about? I didn't let him in. She just walked in here. It just I don't know. The way the lines were presented and the way that they wrote him as a character was just super fun to watch, and to see why he was super important was more than just moving the castle. That makes sense.
yeah.
I mean, he's the comedic relief of kind of the film. in a way.
Yeah, but well
So
done.
were all the other ones, but he actually had lines as opposed to the other goofy characters like the dog, Turniphead, stuff like that.
You know,
Which
the
those
wheeze.
had comic
Yeah.
relief, but his comic relief also had development and interesting things about the character and what he did for Hal and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so I just to talk about some of the stuff that's kind of weird that I don't quite understand is that or the some of the vague stuff. The world as a whole is a little bit weird to me because there's a magic element to it. It's like a normal. I mean, it's like a steampunk kind of normal 1920s kind of a weird Europe, whatever. But as well as that, there's also magic that people are aware of and also aren't aware of. Everyone knew about Howl, and apparently that he was in the beginning of the movie. They were constantly referencing that he was eating hearts of young, attractive women. Right?
I think that's a rumor.
Well, yeah, sure. I'm
By
saying,
the way.
yeah, I don't know if then we never see it, so yeah, I'll assume it's a rumor. But there's that whole scene where when Sophie and Hal first meet, they're going through and goo men are coming out of the walls and all this weird stuff, and I'm like, can other people see? Is this normal? I still don't really know. Is she the only one that could see that? What's going on there?
So
I think
fun
it
way
was. Yeah, you
I was
go
gonna say
ahead.
I want to try to break it down before I get an actual answer, and then you can tell me if we're right. I feel like that's a fun way to do it. I think that they were running through alleyways. I think the goo people are very real. Like you can see the goo people.
Sure.
That's why they kind of tried to disguise in like little weird hats and stuff like that when they're in front of other people.
But they also like later on in the movie, there's a goo guy who's just like in the crowd.
Right.
And he's like, and she spots him. It's when that battleship comes down or that airship
right.
or whatever.
Yeah. And he was wearing some stuff. Right. So maybe there's more of
but
like
he's pretty clearly he's a goo man.
But I think that some of those
they run around in the streets like running around like everyone sees them.
Right. I don't think it's necessarily that like because they know wizards and witches and stuff like that exist. So I don't think that's necessarily bad that they know that they exist.
I'm not
they
saying
were just trying to they were coming
out
in the alleyways and trying to attack them, and you don't really know what's going on. But then you learn that they're the henchmen and why they're there and all that kind of stuff later. So I don't know what do you feel and why is that an issue to you, Nate?
I didn't bring it up as an issue. I was trying to figure out what's going on because it seemed like there's this weird like does everybody know about goo men? I guess it just seems like an odd level of magic interaction because it seems surprising when it's happening to the main character, but then also it seems like they're pretty normal as far as like goo men running around.
I mean, they seem like a pretty like standard like henchmen for both. Not witches. I guess I'm gonna call them witches, but like Solomon and the Witch of the Waste, you know?
Yeah.
Like Solomon also had some of those goo men at the end of the movie. Remember when they're in the house at one place?
And I remember there's a lot of like weird mystical like magic creatures that like come off of some of the airships and like fight with Hal when he's in bird form and stuff.
Basically, those are like court wizards that had turned themselves into monsters. They mentioned that in the film. They were like these are court wizards.
They're never able to turn themselves back into humans. They're like they don't even know they were humans.
I remember those lines of dialogue. I didn't align them with the flying boys.
Because all the witches and wizards were basically required to go help be a part of the fight.
Right.
She was like, cool. Yeah, you're gonna help with the fight. Turn into your thing and help me, and then you're basically never going to turn.
Yeah, you can't be a wizard unless you align yourself with the king.
Sure,
basically.
yeah, I remember all that part. I'm a little, it's weird is that like we know this war goes down, and we know at the end of the movie that there's a missing prince, which we can assume that like one of the princes went missing, another king to blame on another kingdom, and then they started fighting. But do we know anything more about why they're fighting, like what the war is about?
I mean, I assume the war is basically about like the missing prince because at the beginning of the film, this was like a very short like dialogue thing. Like those two guards are standing out somewhere and they're like, it was something
when they're
about,
kind of being a little rapey towards Sophie.
I think this was like maybe in the same guards or like right before that. But there's like, have you heard anything about the missing prince? There was one small line at the beginning of the movie that I only noticed on my third watch through. It was like, have you noticed or like, have you heard about the missing prince?
Yeah,
and then
so at the end when Solomon was like, we're just going to end this war. Is that because she saw through her crystal ball that the prince was there? You know what I mean? She was watching.
I thought I had kind of a deeper meaning about it. I thought it was kind of like maybe that she had learned something from the whole interaction with Hal and Sophie.
It just seemed like she was defeated, and she goes, "Well, that's it. Guess we got to end the war." And I'm like, "What does the war have to do with Howl? You started the war to get to Howl? I guess maybe she did it for the prince, but then she saw the prince was back. That's something that confused me.
Just kind of seems like she's warmongering in general. Like she's so powerful that she doesn't care about all the lives that are getting destroyed. She's just trying to like move things around.
But why did she stop the war? I just didn't get a clear.
I don't really understand.
Solomon seems like somebody who just wants control. Basically, that's what I get because like Hal goes rogue because of like he swallows the star and he's like.
So if that's true, then why does she give up at the end? What's defeating her?
I don't really. Maybe the fact that, like, you're right. Like we mentioned earlier, that Solomon could have turned the prince into a scarecrow. And you remember the one part of the film where they move houses and stuff, and Hal goes, "Your curse is a little too strong for me to move, or for you to come with us." Because
I like that because I had an issue with that in the film when they were like, "Everybody here is cursed. You suck. Get out of here." Like, it wasn't like that. He said, your curse is a little too strong. You can't come with us. And that is something that I do miss is there isn't quite as much subtlety in facial stuff. When Howl comes down, I like the idea that he's acting like everything's okay when he knows it's not. I like that. But when he's like all smiley and happy after like the night before, she saw him cowering in a corner of his cave as a giant bird. Like
I think that was a dream sequence.
And that could have been because she did kind of wake up from it. So I don't know. But regardless, he's not in a good spot.
Well,
he still
did she
came
go
home
in
as a giant
though? Because then she sees Howl back in time, eat the heart, and she's
Wait,
like, find future
stop.
me.
If we're gonna figure this out, we got to take one
part
scene
really
at a time.
fucked
Completely
up.
That,
different
I mean,
scene.
honestly, that part even kind of gets me.
Yes,
a little
let's
bit.
let's try to figure that out together. But let's different scene, okay?
Yeah.
So go back to even if that's dream, even that was a dream sequence. That night before, he still came home as like a bird man, and he was still exhausted. And there is things wrong with him. The dream sequence was for her to see that there's things wrong with him. He's still acting like everything is okay. So I like that. But there wasn't any subtlety when he was like, yeah, we're going to keep moving, but your curse is too strong. So get out of here. Like, he didn't seem sad. He didn't seem upset. It was just kind of monotone. And there were times throughout this that I felt that way. And then I want to point out the big things before we get into other specific scenes that kind of I didn't fully understand. I felt like things were happening. Some things felt like properly paced or a little slow, but not in a bad way. But some things happened way too fast, and they accepted things way too fast. Like when she became old, she just seemed to be okay with it. Like the next day, like she had a little bit of mourning, but like
So yeah, I also noticed that was really strange. But at the same time,
I have a theory about that.
I
actually.
kind of like I found that to be that really like kind of like won me over for her character. In
it
a
was
weird
empowering
way.
because she's like, I'm gonna go figure this out.
Yeah, well, it was also endearing, like that she just like accepted her position and didn't like freak out or cry about it and like all this kind of more normal
I'll give
stuff.
that to you. I actually like that.
So like I liked it, but at the same time, that kind of opened up the whole can of worms. Or what's her plan for this whole movie?
Right.
You know, because I don't even. First of all, I don't even know what breaks her curse. I don't know if
That's-
they have a thing. She just kind of falls out of it.
I have a theory about that. Her curse that I only thought of the other day.
And then. What is her plan? So she leaves the city,
Goes to the waste.
goes to the
I
waste.
thought it was
She's
actually
not looking for Howl.
I thought she was looking for Howl, and then when it was like, find me a place to stay, the house comes, and she goes,
And
what
she's
are you
like,
doing,
no.
turnip head? That's
Yeah.
not what I want.
And I'm like, what did you? Or are you just looking for? You're just gonna walk around the waste till you find the witch?
Maybe she was looking for the witch of the waste.
Because there is a thing where one of the guys says, she's looking for her. She said her sister or something like that.
She probably was looking for the witch of the waste, because when she finds her later, just coincidentally, when she
Yeah.
shows up to the place, she's like, take this curse off me kind of thing. And then
She almost
was
does
like,
it jokingly though, like when they're walking up the steps.
Oh yeah, when she
Yeah,
was like,
it's like
hey,
she
help
didn't
me
actually.
get up
She
these
wasn't
steps.
really trying to get the curse. She was like, obviously upset about the situation, but she was like, "Oh, maybe I'll help you up the steps when you help me with this curse." And I was like, I feel like I'd care a little more.
I think she knows that she can't actually, like, when she was like, I can't, I put curses on people. I don't know how to, like,
and she
take
never.
them away. So she was, like, just trying to tease her at that point and just kind of have this power thing, 'cause she knew she couldn't
Why
actually get
does
healed from her.
Doesn't it feel like, and maybe this is a very Western movie trope thing where usually, like if you get a curse put on you, then you go to somebody like Howl, who's another magic user, and you don't do magic, so you're asking questions. It feels like Sophie should have gone, Howl, help me with this curse, try to get it off me. And then maybe he could have said, oh, I'm sorry, I wish I could, but I can't because blah, 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 blah. Sure. But she never does.
Okay.
She never
It's
asks.
'cause she can't.
The
Yeah.
curse says you are forbidden to talk about this. She can't.
Right.
You remember at the table? So here's the issue.
No, I know, but she does. She can't talk about it, but she does.
No. She is physically unable to. Do you remember at the breakfast table when they were having breakfast and then
No, I know.
Hal walks away and then she...
But she talks to the Wicked Witch.
And then
she
he
talks
goes, are
to
you...
Calcifer.
Listen. He said, the little boy says, are you a witch? And then compares her to the witch. And she was like, do not compare me to her. She's the one that... and couldn't
Yes,
physically
yes,
speak.
I
Well,
remember
she
it.
can
She
obviously
slammed the
talk to the
table.
witch about it. I
So
would be
that-
like,
that's the
But
only
then she
question.
also talks to Calcifer.
She never
Calcifer's
mentioned
not a
it.
person.
Calcifer said she never talked about it. Calcifer said something about the curse or whatever, and then she kind of like talked around it. She never addressed the actual curse. But when she talked to the witch, that's where I was like, why could she talk about it? And then it said you can't talk to. Maybe she said other people or people about it, but since it's the witch who cursed her, she can talk to the witch.
Sure.
So that's why I can maybe understand that, but she didn't actually talk about it to anybody else.
Yeah, I feel like she could have, at least through Calcifer, tried to relay something. But then Calcifer has this plan about
She
trying
basically
to
answered
knock
his
out.
questions, but she couldn't mention the words
Yeah, she
or
kind
what
of
was happening.
That they make like that soft deal about like, hey, if you get me out of from under Howl's castle, basically, if you get me out of powering this thing, then I'll fix
Right.
your curse. And she makes a deal. That never really comes up again, if I'm not mistaken.
maybe
Right?
I mean maybe Calcifer's whole thing was that he was trying to get like Sophie and Hal together because like maybe he realizes that Hal is just I don't know not well off in a way.
Yeah, but see, I don't know. Like, it's just very strange. So, like, Sophie's plan, she can't talk about the curse, and she's just hanging out with Hal. So she's just like, I don't know what she's going to do until, like, the plot kind of happens around her and stuff like that. But she's just kind of, okay, I'm just going to start cleaning for this guy in his castle. I've become more confident because I'm older and people don't tell me no.
And she probably decided to stay with him and clean with him because even if she can't talk about it, she was like, there is, well, obviously the deal she made with Calcifer, but also like, if I'm here, hopefully it'll somehow come up. He'll find out. I need to stay around these people who know about magic so I can get fixed. I'm just going to stay here and clean, pretend
I guess
that's my
so,
job.
but if her original plan was to go try to find the Wicked Witch, when she does actually see her, I mean, she lightly says, like, I wish you'd fix this thing, but she never really tries for it. She's really just doing what Hal wanted her to do there. Meeting with, what's her, the other
she
one?
was slowly falling in love, dude.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel slowly. It feels like she swooned from day one and was pretty
Slowly
much into
falling
it
in love.
for whatever reason.
So-
Turn Up
Girls'
Man
hearts is, you know.
deserved it.
I do agree that her taking charge of her destiny or whatever, not destiny, but her
Circumstances.
accepting, yes, her circumstances. I'll give you that. But there were some other moments in the movie that it felt like things were happening so fast that like a situation would happen and they wouldn't really react to it. They would just move on and accept things like super quickly. And maybe I'll figure out some other, because I think I have in
Can
my
you give
notes.
an example? Just
That was the
Sure.
first example I thought of, but I do agree with what you were saying. There are more. When we go into specific details of scenes, I'll probably be able to find them because I don't want to have to read through my notes and, try to find it right now.
No, yeah, of course.
So that was a big one. And then obviously breaking down the kind of going back in time thing, exactly how that worked. And yeah, just some of the emotions seemed like very flip-flopped at times. Like they were upset about one thing and then it was just, they were not upset about it a second later, again, kind of on the form of accepting things quickly. And
then how does she actually break the curse? Do we know?
all right,
'Cause
so
that's a big deal, right?
We were kind of explaining this is what we don't get. Where Phil said, "I have a theory," and let us keep
Okay,
talking.
yeah,
so Phil,
sorry.
please take it away.
I
Here
don't
we
think her curse is actually about old age at all.
Okay.
I think her curse is how she actually sees herself. So like maybe like her heart or something like
I love that because I didn't understand why she kept phasing in and out of being older and
happened.
not.
Remember, it happened when she
always-
slept.
Why'd her hair
Yeah,
stay
it always
white?
seemed. It always seemed to happen because she liked it. Remember, Hal was like, "I love your hair. It's like a star or whatever." And she goes,
starlight.
"Me
Did he say
too."
that?
So she kept it.
I guess so. Yeah, I see the phasing in and out stuff. So yeah, I think that can
Because I didn't know
as
why
far
she
as
was
the-
phasing in and out because a lot of the times it seemed like it was when Hal was around and there was like more lovey moments, but then there are random moments when that wasn't the case. But it might have been moments when she was standing up to somebody or doing something positive.
I think it was when she was distracted from her curse, So like
Yeah.
in those movies there would be like points of tension and stuff like that, and she would be in like kind of like a halfway stance between like being
Yeah,
old and
yeah.
being young. So maybe that's like she wasn't quite to the point where she was like, "Oh, I'm okay with like being old or whatever." But
She's
like
distracted.
so she was distracted from her curse in those situations. And like I watched it with one of my friends because he had never seen the movie, and he was like, "I don't understand why she's like old now and like why she's like young while she sleeps." And like when I thought about it deeper after I watched the movie, I was like, maybe her curse goes away while she sleeps because
she doesn't have to
she's
think
not thinking
that
about
kind
it.
of stuff.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's interesting. I guess the witch would have done it kind of inadvertently almost because she has kind of similar issues with her own self. So it kind
Probably
of makes
self-worth
sense.
because she tried
Yeah.
to go after Hal and he was like, "Nah."
Well, right, yeah. it
Yeah,
seems
that,
like
that
her-
point where
yeah.
he was like, "Yeah, I tried courting the witch until
Thought
I
she was
really
beautiful.
Yeah, and then she
Realized
turned out
she's
to be
not.
ugly.
Right. So I guess she's almost kind of like just putting her own affliction on everybody else. She's like casting out like her own, like her ugliness of personality. She puts that onto, physically onto other people.
And like the reason I think it's like how Sophie sees herself is just because like just different parts in the movie, like right after she gets cursed, she's like, "Oh, these clothes finally fit me." And she's like, "Oh, I've never been beautiful."
Yeah, no,
and
I was
stuff
thinking
like
about
that.
those lines too. Like that makes sense. No, I mean honestly, hearing about that, I think you're totally right. I'm just trying to feel like, yeah, I guess I just kind of didn't put that together. Poor on me. I feel like I
You
should
feeling
have.
defeated right now, Nate?
A little bit, yeah, about that point because I was just.
I didn't think about it
I
either.
figured there must have been a reason and something I missed about it, and that's why I didn't. Because if everything that I was bringing up didn't have an answer to it, then this movie would be bad. Like, right? If she just reversed her curse for no reason, seemingly, or like or if none of these things had answers that I've been saying, then obviously there would be like, well, like anything can happen in this movie because nothing's explained. But I like your explanation makes perfect sense, and I like it. I'm just trying to figure out, I guess. I mean, it feels like enough evidence was there. There was enough.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So
I don't have anything to argue.
Yeah.
Like,
No. I mean, I think you're good.
If you
yeah.
rewatch this video, I went. That
Yeah.
makes so much sense.
Wow.
So I like that. I have an example of people either like moving on too quickly or whatever, and I don't think there's an explanation for this. I think this is just, in my opinion, unless you can prove me wrong, kind of a flaw in the film.
Yep.
But maybe not. So you remember when he comes downstairs and his hair's like dyed a different color and he freaks out and has a tantrum? Like that was like, all right, this guy, that was just so dumb. It's like, I don't see a point of living if I can't be beautiful. And I'm like, this is awful. Not like a bad way necessarily, but like super whiny, whatever.
Right.
So then she's like, oh, it'll be okay. And then he just keeps still like sulking or whatever. And then she loses it and is like, you know what? I'm done. I've never been beautiful my entire life, kind of thing. Further your point. Anyways,
she runs out into the rain,
runs
and
out.
who's there to comfort her? Turnip Head. He deserved it. I'm mad that fucking Hal just swooped in because what? He can turn into a bird? Fuck Hal, dude. Turnip Head earned it.
So yeah, so she goes out there, and obviously he's there for her. But I felt like
it was a really quick turnaround.
Yeah, I don't know if that was just me or if that was enough. Like there's a friend to comfort her. All right, calm yourself down, relax, take 30 seconds, we're good.
Because Western movies do this thing where usually they'll have like that would be like the midpoint soft fight between the romantic interests, and they would spend like a montage apart, and then they would come together.
You might have actually fixed this problem for me, not because it needs to be the whole like crux of the movie, but the fact that I felt like it turned around so quickly that she came back and was like, well, let me help you. I'm going to clean up and do all this stuff. And I was like, you were ready to leave and not live here. Like she was like storming out ready to leave.
Yeah.
And like 15 seconds later, she's like completely fine. But if I think about me getting upset, if I overreact about something because there's so much tension, sometimes it does just take me 30 seconds and I go, yo, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? So maybe that is a difference.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what like Turnip Head, that's why when he showed up and brought the umbrella, it was kind of like, you know, my shit's not, people care about me or whatever. Like she's more of kind of like making what was making him upset about herself almost in a way. So, and
kind
of deservingly so.
Right. And I think that this is more than just me talking it out loud and going, well, it makes sense now. Because as that can happen, I also think that it's kind of a realization that, like you said, this is a different culture of films. And so, like you said, the Western world of making it such a bigger deal, even if it might be realistic enough in real life to be able to calm yourself down even for 30 seconds, come back in and be like, sorry, I just got a lot going on and I'm being irrational. That's real. Like that happens. Yeah. But when I'm watching movies, I don't expect that because I expect to be more drawn in or something. So maybe it's just because I'm not used to this style of culture. And that's actually a good enough answer for me. I'm down for it. I think we're swaying. I think we're getting swayed more to. I think we're building up that percentage of likeness so far.
Yeah, it's true. I will say that like this whole movie has a very, it's much more Western in feel than I thought it was going to be, because like what I know from anime is what I've seen obviously in memes and clips where like everything is like over the top, like as far as like especially like reactions to things, like somebody will say something and another character will go and they'll like freak out and their body will become a smaller version of their normal body and they'll like fall off. Like you remember in Teen Titans, you guys watched the original Teen Titans, they used to do that kind of anime style thing a lot where like Cyborg would get upset or embarrassed by something and a little version of him would run off a cliff into a volcano. It was obviously like some kind of weird hyperbole like way of expressing it, but that's what I expect out of anime because that's what I've seen. And then obviously like other ridiculousness of it, but like this one has quieter, more, you know, intimate moments that feel much more of like what I expect a Western movie to be. So I was kind of surprised by that, but I feel like if we watched like some anime show, I'd get more of the other stuff than I did in
definitely.
this.
This is this is just more like a film that like a lot of anime films of this nature kind of do have, I would say, like a more Western feel to them. Like they try to like ground themselves in a reality in a sort of way that they're not just super over the top, like something small happens and somebody just irrationally blows up and like there's a weird like big eye, like weird head animation type thing like that.
Or like usually what I'll end up seeing is that like some girl will be upset, like some kind of stupid teen drama, right? Where like a girl will be upset because a guy doesn't like him and her eyes will like go pupilless and there will be like a river of streams like coming out of her, you know, like that kind of shit. Like I'm just not to go off on a tangent, but is anime television and anime movies, like, are they really different? Or because like now we've kind of gotten to the point where like our TV is very much film, like shot and kind of in feel, you know what I mean? Like our dramas and stuff like that. Yeah, how they're done. So I don't, in far as Western stuff, but as anime TV is like anime TV kind of ridiculous and anime movies kind of more grounded and more realist.
I'd say like from a lot of like what I've seen, like there's obviously supernatural like phenomena in these films.
Well, not so much that, but like how it feel, like the tone of it more than the actual subject matter. Because this movie, as far as what's in it, is ridiculous. But I'm saying the tone of it feels more grounded as far as how characters interact with each other, opposed to the ridiculous hyper nature of like a lot of anime television.
I'd say so. Like from like I guess from like my experience of like movies I've watched, so like Ghibli films and like another big filmmaker in Japan is Mamoru Hosoda, and he makes movies like kind of along the same lines because they call him kind of like the next Ghibli in a way. I don't know, like
little Gib.
I don't know if you can really say that because Ghibli has like Miyazaki has his own son.
Oh,
so like saying that's just kind of like oof. But like a lot of those movies do seem to be grounded in like certain sorts of reality that it's not just like super over the top.
Now, here's what I will say. I have not watched any Bollywood films, but
I've seen clips.
I have watched Corridor Crew.
Yeah.
And they talk about Bollywood films. And the crazy over-the-top action stuff that they do in some of these movies is absurd, but I can totally see myself watching it for a different purpose than I would watch something more grounded. So you're taking these and put them in a similar situation. I think it all depends on what you like and what you want to get out of it.
No,
now,
I was just curious about the difference.
No,
yeah.
but I'm just trying to clarify that for audience, for me, for all of us, because you might have something like Dragon Ball Z or My Hero. I don't know if My Hero is more out there or not. I mean, for sure more than this, but to where you have just like crazy action sequences that you might just love the visuals and how super powered these individuals are, and watching them like clash. And I'm not trying to say there's no deeper meaning, because I've talked to a lot of people who watch those things, and there is, but it's presented in such a way that is more over the top. Some people might like that more, and you might watch it for a different reason, just like Bollywood can be very over the top as well. I don't want to compare them directly because I don't want to offend either side.
We don't know probably enough about
I don't,
of them,
but I'm just saying from the clips, it just I'm getting that feel that it depends on what you kind of want to get out of it, but it seems like more of that kind of stuff is more geared towards the TV side of it. Quick, Yeah,
because I was even thinking, I don't know any other than the Ghibli stuff. I've never feel like I've heard about any anime movies. Like I've heard a lot about anime TV shows, but I don't like. Did they not come out that often? Or are there only like a few studios like Ghibli and a couple others that do movies?
No, there's a lot of studios in Japan that like do movies, and it really like they don't show a lot here. But like the theater in Noonan actually does Fathom events periodically where they show like a
Fathom events.
Yeah, they call it Fathom events, like FATHOM.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means?
I don't know if I guess it just means that they're only there for like a limited time, maybe.
Oh, okay.
So like, I've seen like quite a few like Ghibli films have come out in the Noonan Theater for like 1 or 2 days, and then
it's kind of neat. I wouldn't have expected that.
And then like when they do like American releases of like in like a new Japanese film, they'll like sometimes show it down there too. So like I've seen Weathering with You, which came out earlier this year. And then there was like another one called Tokyo Godfathers that came out in March. And these are all done by like different studios that weren't Ghibli. So like I was
just curious because like, obviously Western movies are a big deal. That is like totally separate from any other franchise. Thousands of movies come out. So I just didn't know. I mean, Japan's a lot smaller, so I wouldn't have expected. But I just wasn't sure if it was more of like a few come out every year, or if it's more of like Western where you could any Friday night you could walk into a Japanese movie theater and expect to watch something.
I'd say those movies probably take a like a Pixar amount of time to make. Like they take like a few years to make.
Sure,
maybe that's why you don't see as many of
Makes
them
sense
as like
drawing everything. So
yeah. So they take a lot. Like they take a lot to like come out over here. So like I mean like I remember the guy who made Weathering with You. He made Your Name back in like 2017. His name was like Makoto Shinkai, I think. That was the director.
I'm retaining none of these names.
But like I think he was like as soon as he finished making that film, he basically started on this film, and he worked on it till 2020. So or like 2019.
Cool. Oh well, we'll swoop back to Hal's movie
we'll
castle.
table those topics.
Man, I had something I want to say and completely lost my train of thought. This is happening 2 episodes in a row now.
Nice, bro.
Except last episode it was middle of a sentence, and I went
yeah, I remember
dead
that.
brain, dude, like completely dead brain. Okay. So what I was gonna say was maybe it's different again, cultural styles as far as. Maybe in Japan, and again, I don't want to offend anybody who's like our age that enjoys stuff like Dragon Ball and My Hero and more of the action
But
style
that's the
stuff.
stupid stuff, right?
No, here's what I'm saying is if it's more over the top, maybe that is more geared towards either kids or a teenage audience. And I'm not saying that like you can't get anything out of it if you're watching it now.
Yeah, because Dragon Ball feels like superheroes, like comic book stuff. Like it's like it's like if you Dragon Ball is like watching
and it might
a
be
Justice
partially
League show
and it
or
might be
something.
partially nostalgic as well. So my whole point is maybe TV over there because I don't know. I feel very cultural list right now, but
I swore I heard a knock, but I'm not sure.
hello.
It might have been.
All right, welcome
Oops.
back.
Oops.
Okay, so maybe, and again, I don't know because I don't know about obviously Japanese culture, but I wonder if they consider TV more geared towards that style and that like age group, whereas like the movies they want to take time to be more grounded and stuff. And again, I'm actually curious to watch more TV style anime to see because obviously it seems very different. To see if I can pinpoint why they are that way. I'm just throwing ideas out because I really don't know.
I think what I've heard about anime is like actually like everybody over there watches it. Like
Just
it's just
I'm
everybody,
just
like,
completely wrong.
45-year-old businessmen are just sitting there watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or some shit.
from basically like from what I've heard is like that you just got like it's just kind of like a normalcy over there. You know, like you just watch it.
Maybe TV because it's shorter. They want to have stuff that's a little more exaggerated, over the top, and that way they can kind of just like lose themselves in something just kind of fun, crazy, whatever.
Sure,
for a short amount of
it's
time.
easier-
Where it's like I want to invest in something for a while and have a little.
Yeah,
more
in
grounded.
22 minutes, it's harder, like, like just like sitcoms and
Right.
stuff like that. It's harder to engage in a deeper way than it is to just throw
I mean-
jokes or, flashy visuals or whatever.
There's a lot of one-off animes, I would say. Like, you know how every time you make a show in America, it always has to go like serialized or whatever, and to go like, oh, this has to be like 100 episodes, or it's not worth.
Well, like that's from the business perspective. Yeah, like there's lots of shows we do mini series that are sometimes good, especially if dramas that'll go specifically one season and then they're done. They don't do it. But oftentimes, if something's successful, they're gonna try to milk it. Yeah,
But
for
like
sure.
a lot of times, like there's been like I've seen a fair amount of like anime that's been just kind of like one-off. So like it goes
so
13.
it'll have like one season of
It'll go like 13 episodes and that's it.
right.
And like sometimes there's not a resolution, so I don't know if that's because it hasn't done well.
That would piss me off. I don't know.
I know.
Get
I mean,
invested in a show
it's-
for 20 episodes and it just doesn't end.
I mean, sometimes it's weird. Like anime, there was this one, like some shows, there was like this one that's like semi-adult show. It's called High School DxD. It's pretty good. But like it like the first season came out like 2012, and they didn't make a season 2 for like 4 years.
Probably looking for funding.
Yeah. So like that's just kind of how it is.
Back into this movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Back to House.
A couple of things that I kind of want to finish off with, like what I didn't fully understand in a more broad sense is I felt like there were moments where we didn't know, especially at the beginning, but I think we kind of figured that out a little bit as we talked about it, like why she was going to the waste. Maybe to find, I would assume it's to find the witch, but what I wrote down here, at least when I was watching it, was we don't really know like what she knows as far as like you were saying, like with magic, with everything else and the situation that she's in. It's like we don't really know her knowledge of all that stuff. So we don't know what she really knows, and we don't really know why exactly she's doing what she's doing. I felt like there was, again, this was enough to, it had enough for me to grasp onto to figure out, or to want to know what's coming next. Like I'm not saying it was terrible, but a criticism I would give is I wish we had a little more. I almost wish, like, I feel like this movie could have been split into 2 movies. Like, give us a little more backstory so we know why she's doing what she's doing, so she knows, or we understand what she understands about the whole situation. That seemed like a big thing for me, and that kind of happened a couple times throughout throughout the movie. And there were situations that things happened that just seemed almost kind of like out of convenience or to move the plot along. For example, when they were like, or when Howell said, "I have to report," I'm contractually obliged basically to report to to Solomon, and he was like, "Wait, you just go and tell her I can't go." I'm like, that's it. That like if it was so important for you to show up, you can just have somebody go on your behalf and say, I'm too weak, like I can't go. You know what I mean? Like it seemed very like that would work. I don't know.
I do think that they kind of wrap that up because when he swoops in and like kind of like saves her from the situation, that like maybe he wasn't telling the full truth there. You know, like that he wasn't revealing everything as why he couldn't go or what he was planning on doing. And really it was about him showing up but needing the courage. I didn't really like that line, like, I got courage to see you doing it. And I was like, well, you're just showing up to...
and that really that was a situation where you get a little bit of backstory about Hal. So, like, you know, I kind of like that just because it's like, now... Solomon
the interactions
Solomon
themselves
is
are fine. I think it's just the motivation.
But then why did he let her go if he knew that she was trying to take away all their powers? It's like, okay, send my mom in, who could potentially then get captured and held as ransom until he comes. Like it just seemed like a dangerous situation to put her in.
Yeah.
And then I guess that's why he knew he was being a coward to send her instead, so he shows up and saves her. I guess
it's a little odd. I can't really. I see kind of what the purpose is, but I can't quite put them all together as far as like the motivations for the characters. You know, does that make sense?
Like maybe Hal has a hero complex in this situation, just like he wants to send somebody into danger just so he can rescue him.
That's not. That's
would
not a
think
very
it's more
flattering
cowardly
angle
because-
for Hal to have.
Well, first of all, not super
I'm not
flattering.
sold on him in just general.
It was hilarious when he was sulking and just like sliming everywhere.
Yeah,
hilarious. But he sulks. He talked to her and was like, "I'm afraid about all this stuff." And he was a coward, and he knew that, and then had to overcome that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think that could be attributed to like his flaws. You remember at the very end of the movie where like she gives Hal his heart back, and she's like, "It's so small," and that's when Calcifer's like, "Yeah, because it's still a child's heart."
yeah,
right. So he's still
like
he hasn't like grown.
Yeah, like I don't think he's matured any since like his heart was, I guess, taken by the fire demon.
yeah.
Well,
Since
I
he
gotta talk
swallowed
to
that
Sophie
star.
because she's 90 years old. That's inappropriate.
Technically, though, she's not. She hasn't lived that amount of time. She just got aged physically.
Yes, I know.
I mean-
but she's at least probably like 18. Something. I feel like she's like.
She's got to be right.
Yeah.
If
Anyways,
not, I
and
gotta
then-
talk
and
to
then
the soldiers. In the
the
beginning
last
of the movie.
thing that I wasn't fully bought into, which is kind of a main premise of this whole story.
the love story, right?
They did not seem like they fell
What
in love
the-
with each
why?
other.
Why
they
does
just
she
kind
love
of
him?
ended up together. Yeah, I don't get it.
I don't get it.
It doesn't really make sense. She didn't really show to me that like she was falling in love with him because he was just kind of either whether it was being not nice or it was just being just pretty chill with her and just very monotone, flat. He goes out, does his own thing. There didn't seem to be a big pull of like when she was like, "You don't understand. I love you," and it's like, why? Like I didn't.
Yeah, because from her
I didn't feel
perspective,
it. I
he's
didn't
kind
feel
of
it.
the reason she got cursed in the first place. Is because the only reason the Wicked Witch showed up is because she must have known that he was hanging out with her just coincidentally, right? The Coons said Howl's hanging around with some chick. Wicked Witch gets jealous, takes away her beauty or whatever. You know, the whole the curse thing. And then, so that's kind of Howl's fault because he just kind of showed. He put her in this position. Her entire plight is on him. And then, you know, he goes through and he's kind of a jerk. He gets mad at her for cleaning. He's like, you know, always gone. He seems to be
And I can
mopey and
yeah.
weird. I just don't understand. And then, meanwhile,
I can
Son of
understand
Ped.
why he's like that. His character development, as far as trying to have this almost hero complex,
Right,
be
but from
kinda
her,
tough.
what is
again?
in it for
I
her?
understand him and his character development, but why did she? Do you have an answer for us, Phil? And maybe you just felt it more. Like I just didn't feel it. Maybe you felt the
I
connection.
feel like
I don't know.
she needs to have
Maybe-
reasons to fall in love with a
Like I
person.
feel like it's probably because
right now it
like
feels toxic.
Sophie maybe gave Hal a different like vibe than like somebody else who's like pursued that's like pursued Hal for like 50 years. Like, you know, the Witch of the Waste. Like maybe
I can understand
Yeah,
how
he can love
Hal
her.
is in love with her. She's great. I'm saying, why is Sophie in love with Hal? He's not.
Turnip head.
Yeah, Turnip Head, dude.
Head.
There are so many times where Turnip Head just comes in and saves the day, and I cannot express.
It
to you.
is kinda
He's
weird.
just instantly like she's like, "Hey, thanks. Oh, you're a guy? Fuck off. Hal, where'd you go?" Like, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm a prince, and like, you know, I'm rich, and like, I'm really nice too. And even though I was a scarecrow, like, I was the best person in this whole fucking movie. But you know, it's cool. I'll go fuck myself. It just seems odd. Like,
maybe there, you know, there's like that one line in the movie where it's like something about like I can't remember exactly what happened, but like Sophie was talking about how she hadn't been beautiful, and then Hal just turns to her and is like, what do you mean, Sophie? You are beautiful. And like maybe that's
in like the flower field. That is the beginning of a connection to me. But they
Hot guy
treated
tells you
that
you're hot.
at the end when she's like, "What do you?" That was after in the dream sequence she said, "I love you." So at that point, I could have seen it maybe after that, or again, that was during that sequence, and then she's like, "I thought you were." Seems like you're going away. What's going on? And I'm like, that was at the end of like him leaving. I could see that being the beginning. But I don't know. That was that was a connection point. But besides that,
Sophie's a good character, and we're rooting for her throughout the whole movie. So from an audience perspective, at least for me, you want her to go after. You want her, especially in a love story kind of angle. You want her to be with somebody that like you feel is the right match. You know what I mean? So when you see her going after a guy who feels like he just doesn't care, like the vibe I got from Howell this whole movie is that he's kind of like above. You know, because he's a powerful wizard and stuff like that. He's kind of like above all the everybody else. He's kind of away all the time. He kind of treats them like, you know, you live in my house. You're just like people who live in my house, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? So it just didn't sell me that I should be rooting for them to get together. That makes sense.
Yeah, I get what you're saying because like there is a lot of like stuff that should point to like Turnip Head being like the end game.
Yeah, but
love
that's
interest.
the meme, especially since he turns like I wasn't thinking she should go with Turnip Head until he magically turned into a man at the end. Like then I was like, well shit, that seems like it was made to happen. But
then there's that line at that point too that was like, oh, you had the curse that was like your true love's kiss will break your curse.
when you say, I was kind of taken aback by that. But then seeing how much he
guess that's one way
do things for them. I was like, dang, that sucks, dude.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'm saying. It's like, really, this is a sad story from the perspective of Turnip Head. Because not only that, but he inadvertently like has to have the guilt of this like whole war that's kind of on him. You know what I mean? Like he went missing, even though he wasn't the reason he went missing. But like, you know, that's got to be like a survivor's guilt type of thing. Like, how many people died because I went missing?
Turnip Head got cooked, bro.
And then he got cooked on top of it. Turnip Head really got the short end of the stick, man.
I mean, he was like hanging the stuff up with Sophie, the close up, and he's like giving her umbrellas,
but
when she's
also
at
like
her lowest
saves
point.
them when they were like falling off. He like stuck himself in
What if it
between
was,
and
like,
cracked
he
his stick
basically
and like
sacrifices
himself. On the rock.
What if he came back with no legs because of that?
Oh my God!
Like I thought about that. Like when I was watching the third time, I was like, "What if this like the stick was his legs?" And then he like
she kisses him, and he's just like bloop, pops back with like nubs.
I do love that he like bounces away at the end, and it makes me think like, wait, so he's just a bouncy guy? Like it had nothing to do with him having a stick.
I was
He
so
just loves
confused.
bouncing.
That was the point that like confused me because I was like, "Is this prince have magic? Like, how did he just
No,
like?"
he just loves fucking bouncing around on sticks. That was a pre-scarecrow thing.
This man, like the end of the movie, he's just like he got a big stick and he's like, "All right, I'm heading out. Got my pogo. Let's
So
go."
this here's something interesting, which I know we talk about movies, and that is what matters because we shouldn't have to have.
Oh, you're
other
gonna
source.
bring up some book shit?
It is based on a book,
That's
but
what I was about to say.
all I'm saying is I'm curious. In which again, if it has a lot more details and explanations, split it up, man. Make it 2, make it a 3,
I don't know
make
if
it a 4-hour long movie.
I think
Make it a
there's
4-hour
things
long
that they
movie.
could have taken out of this and replaced with other stuff in here.
Miyazaki has never made an official sequel to like his movies.
I can
That's the
see not
thing.
sequels, but make it longer or take some stuff out.
Yeah, because
Okay.
there's like some cleaning montages that maybe weren't so important.
I feel like we've gone into a lot. Can we, as a trio here, the last thing before we make our final conclusions of what we feel about this movie,
The fuck is that time travel bullshit?
try to figure out that scene?
I need to know because I have no idea. Because, and I'll be
So,
honest,
is
this was getting late now. This is toward the end of the movie. Intoxications were taking me over, so that might impact how how little I understood about what was happening toward the end. But from what I understand, they get split up on the rest of the castle, where it's just Sophie and
So with his magic, it
How?
seems like he recreates an area from his childhood because she gets like that was the flower field with the little place. Then at the end of the movie, when she goes through that door the last time, she ends up in that place and then sees Howl and she's like, "I'm in Howl's past." And then she
sees him get
so
the
he's a
the
magic
shooting
he's
star
a magic
heart,
boy.
right?
He's a magic boy. He's a
Right.
wizard dude. So he eats a star, which I guess maybe he thinks or knows. This makes me more powerful.
Not the first thing I would have thought of.
Look, this is a crazy world. That doesn't really bother me.
No, I'm fine.
Saying like, "Cool, this gives me more powers" or whatever. What does that do? Like, what do you think that does? Because they took his heart out and created Calcifer. Why? What is that doing? I want to break that down first. Like, does anybody have any ideas?
I mean,
No
when the
fucking
when the
clue.
stars crash to the earth, you can see that they're like, they look like they seem to be entities of their own. Like they
they're
don't seem to
going
be
in a
like,
direction.
yeah, like they don't seem to be
purposefully.
like a normal star like we think of a star. So like in the movie, you know, like they crash down on the earth and then they kind of like run around the water as like little people. You remember that?
Yeah, and then they do that sequence like when they're reversing the wicked witches of the West, her evilness, I guess, like all of her powers, they take it away from her. She's in a circle of like dancing little boys. No, that's
A dancing little.
that was kind of a bad way to phrase that, but
She's in a circle of like they're dancing light basically,
Yes.
but
Oh
they
my
have
gosh.
they have a human-esque figure. So let's not say little boys. We're taking
the
it all the way back to
dancing
cuties,
little-
aren't we?
yeah, we're going back to
So
cuties.
the dancing little girls at the beginning, no go. But as long as they're dancing little
Dancing little
boys.
boys is fine, yeah.
All right, Nate, and that's Nate's
When I was
opinion.
11-year-old boy, I was twerking. I was cool with it.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, good callback. So no idea, huh?
I
Well-
think they were. Like maybe they're demon. Like you know, they
Well, he
call
calls
they,
himself a fire demon, right?
So
Or
they
something like
refer to
that?
like Calcifer the entire time as a demon who took Hal's heart as a kid.
Japanese demon and Western demon have different connotations, right?
Yeah, Japanese
Yeah.
demon's like an oni in a way. It can be a lot of different things, but like
it's not like evil, like innately.
no, it is
Oh, it is?
What is?
like a
I thought Japanese demons and Western demons, because obviously our version of demons is based on like Christianity and like
Right.
hell, right?
Yeah, I
but
thought
their
demons were-
demons aren't based on the same thing.
I didn't think
their
so
their
because
demons are like They refer to like a lot of like ghosts and stuff of that nature as yokai, and that's kind of like a spirit type thing.
Yeah,
but it's
so-
not necessarily bad. Like, remember when Sophie was like, maybe he's a demon too, talking about Turnip Head, and she goes, yeah, but a nice demon or something like that. So it sounds like
Well, I mean, if you have to say a nice demon, then the implication there is that demon by default is not nice.
But that's what she said. She's a nice demon, and I would say Calcifer's a pretty good dude.
no, I mean,
I mean, he also he took Hal's heart in a way, you know.
But
But like, what was taking Hal's
But-
heart for his own gain, or was
but,
that like?
but
He's
was it
funny,
his fault
you know?
or like when you eat a star? Is that just what happens? Like, oh my heart!
Like,
he's like,
like-
sorry, bud.
Billy
Guess we
Crystal
gotta stay
shows
together.
up and he goes, "All
like
right."
was that like maybe they made a deal in that moment that was like an unspoken deal that, or like maybe that we couldn't hear because like when he was talking to the star, like you know, like there was a short little second before he ate the star
Where he's kinda, like,
where
looking at it.
Yeah, where he looks at
See,
the
we're
star.
kind of entering the realm of like really unverifiable conjecture here, because it was different when we were talking about like the curse theory, right? Because that had a lot of things that you could say like, oh yeah, because of blank, blank, and blank. But with this, we're kind of being like, well, maybe he, talked to the star. Maybe this. It feels like there's nothing backing up any of this stuff, and we're just kind of like theorizing,
yeah.
which is fine. I want to, if at all, I think
Concrete.
it feels like this movie was made, in a way where there would be an explanation, not directly out in your face, but there to kind of guide you in the direction of like how things happen. I just want to know, how does she time travel, and then what is the purpose of it?
Do you think the book explains more about why he eats a star?
I don't care.
No, I know. This is more of a. Does it make the movie better? No, the movie you should still be able to understand from the movie. I'm just curious. I say that because I was looking up some info.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, here on the interwebs, it says when Howell was young, he gave Calcifer his heart in order for the fire demon to continue living because he felt sorry for him. This is implied to have sapped his humanity somewhat and will continue to do so till he ends up like the Witch of the Waste. Is that true? Did somebody just come up with something and put it? I don't know.
Yeah, I'd have to try to see if there was any ties to that. I don't know if there.
You know
is.
how
There very well could
Calcifer
be.
talks to Hal during like a lot of the movie, where he's like, "Hal, you've gone too far this time." Like as when he goes,
He talks to him like a friend would, though, like someone who Hal would listen to. Because the rest of them, I feel like Hal's just kind of like, until the end, he's kind of brushing them off.
Yes
like
and
he
no,
wouldn't
because
listen to them.
Calcifer wanted to get out of there. He made the deal with Sophie at the beginning to help me out, get me out of
Yeah,
here.
but that's why I have a problem with that deal, is because that doesn't go anywhere. You know what I mean? That like Calcifer never again, from what I remember, never again tries to really get out. In fact, whenever he's taken out of the furnace, he's like scared and like saying like, "Take me back, bring me back," blah 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 blah. Which I guess he needs fire or wood or something to burn to stay alive. It seems, but it like that plot line never goes anywhere. Sophie never tries to get Hal to give up Calcifer to reverse her curse, and Calcifer vice versa also never tries to do that. So it doesn't really feel like like a good indication of his motivation in the movie.
If that theory is true, like what you just read, like then did Calcifer die shortly after the course of the film? Like when he like got separated from Hal's heart, and it was like, oh, Calcifer, you're still here, and then it's like, yeah, I think I'd like to stick around or something like that. And it's like, well, then wouldn't he just die? If like, because if a star crashes to Earth, it doesn't like it obviously won't stay lit forever. So like,
I guess if they just keep feeding it, right, keep stoking that flame.
But he turned back into a star, like didn't he?
Oh,
because
yeah,
remember he left off, and then he like came back to speak with Sophie. Right. So like,
oh yeah, it's because he was flying around.
So did like Calcifer just die?
I see, this is one of the things where I just don't know.
And then it says, Calcifer is Hal's resident fire demon. As a result of the mysterious bargain with Hal some years ago, he agrees to heat and power the castle. Although he is bound to the hearth, he has a great amount of magic. Whatever. So it sounds like he helped save his life, I guess. And then in return, he helps power the castle. Because Hal then becomes power hungry, maybe. He's like, well, and wants to become that hero and kind of almost takes back his it's more of just, oh, I saved you. Now it's like, well, now what can you do for me? Because he's trying to become more powerful. I don't know. Like, it's hard.
Okay. Yeah. See, I don't really think we're going to find an answer to this, unfortunately, but I really want to know if you guys have anything about when she goes back in time and sees all this take down, Hal eating the star and all that kind of stuff, and then she screams like into the void, like, find my future self or something like that. Then I don't remember the exact line. What is that about?
So is that
understand.
how he found her at the beginning of the movie?
Well, but then it doesn't feel like it, because that felt like, then what was his plan? He bumps into her and gets her cursed on purpose?
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of
hopes
circumstantial.
That she finds him later. Like that doesn't make any sense, right?
I feel like one of the things of this movie, there's a lot of circumstantial like bump-ins or whatever you could call it, like happenstance. Like, oh, you met this person. Like, I always thought that like Sophie and Hal's like interaction was just happenstance. And then,
which is fine. I mean, you know, I'm not a big fan of coincidences in movies, but when it's like that's the inciting action of the film, right? It's like how they meet is what makes the rest of the plot go. So that's totally fine because it's a story written about, you know.
But you could also say that Hal may have been looking for her because, like, you remember his house is all the way out there in the waste at the beginning of the movie, and they're like, "Oh, it's Hal's house." Like, why would Hal be in this city?
Right, but if he is looking for her because of the past self thing, then what is he doing? Because he bumps into her, saves her from the Gooman, which we're going after Hal, not after her, so it doesn't really save her. Ignoring her would have saved her more. But then drops her off, and then gets her cursed, which I'm not saying he did that on purpose or even knew that was going to happen, but he gets her cursed and then doesn't interact with her again until she makes her own way to him. So if he found her on purpose, what was his point?
Gotta think.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah, like what
it's
was
a
this?
little strange. And that's. I mean, I think as we kind of move into closing statements.
So we're not trying to. I feel like there has to be answers.
I do not think.
So do you think that like Hal saw that Sophie? You remember those scenes where Sophie's sleeping, right?
Yeah.
Do you think Hal saw her true self in those scenes, or if it was just like for the audience only?
Oh, no, 100%, because he would not have done this. There were some things in this that I'm like, this is creepy if he's hitting on a 90-year-old woman, but he knew that like she was under a spell and fell for that.
And I mean, maybe it's just interpretation of the dialogue, but I never really got any vibes until close to the end when she was already kind of transforming back that he was hitting on her at all. All of the kind of stuff could have, like when he got her a room and all that stuff, he's being nice for sure. But
right.
Like, he was kind of just being like...
The flower area seemed a little more connecting.
Yeah, but she was already kind of morphing back into herself by that point. Yeah,
so that's why I think he wasn't super surprised when he kept seeing her morph. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess so. I wish that there had been a scene where we saw him see her, because you see him walk by her sleeping when she looks normal, but you never see him like look down and give any kind of expression. I mean, maybe that's just me wanting things to be American movies, but that's kind of what I'm expecting. Usually, it's like an indication of like, hey, okay, it's kind of like in a Telltale game where it says like, X person will remember this. That those kind of scenes help you kind of like bridge those gaps and kind of understand that this character knows this thing and vice versa, because how we see things aren't how the characters are seeing.
Maybe
them.
this has something to do with like how maybe not being able to like digest emotions or stuff like that. Like maybe he doesn't really know what he's feeling in a way.
I guess that goes back into like the child's heart theory, which I mean we do have a little evidence to support that, but it's just what.
Because his first love was, I guess, could have been the Witch of the Waste, and and maybe he thought that was like more of a shallow love in a way because it was based off of like just looks, beauty. And then
which they go like when they show her like in her full like grossness of just like all the chins.
There were multiple times I went, ugh, I hate this.
They really went all the way with it, man.
When she was sweating up the stairs.
And I was trying to figure out at the time, I was like, what is the purpose of showing me all this? Like, why are you showing me a fat woman struggle walking upstairs? It feels so weird. I mean, I get that it's like, that was part of like later when you're watching it, but that it's part of like her that they take away and she's all whatever. But
I will say, as I've been continuing to look, I'm seeing the same answer everywhere. So maybe they do explain it more in the book and they don't tell you in the movie to keep it a mystery, which I don't know if I like that. But that basically they made the agreement. He gave his heart to extend his life. In exchange, Calcifer gave him more powers, agreed to assist him in whatever he needs, such as powering the castle. And then they're basically tied to each other.
As far as I know, that never comes up in the movie.
Yeah, it just kind of, and so I guess you could do the whole time traveling as far as look, there's magic. Why they chose time travel? I wish they would have explained that because it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Especially what she says is the worst part of it. Her saying "go find my future self" implies that has some importance over what happened in the story, but it can't.
I've seen at least three different anime situations where they've done the same thing.
Self, not future.
Future, whatever. It's some other version of herself that's not the one then and now.
Here's my take on that.
Yeah.
Time travel gets confusing. We just finished talking about the Back to the Future series.
Oh God.
So it gets confusing. But my interpretation is that's how they met. And if it wasn't for her, she would have.
Wait, that's how they met. They met like in the time travel thing,
that's how that's how he knew to find her at the beginning of this movie.
So he did do that, but we already established that doesn't make any sense because he doesn't do anything with it.
Well, like I said, maybe he didn't realize why he was supposed to find her. Was he supposed to just like then ask her and be like, why are you asked? Like I don't know.
He was supposed to do something. I don't know what it was, but something. All he does is meet her, not introduce what he says or say anything of importance, and then leave.
Right. So this is again, I'm not saying it's the best answer. It's the only one I can even think of is that's how they met. And then if it wasn't for her, obviously she wouldn't have been able to give him the heart back, which is the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. And if it wasn't for her, she wouldn't have done that. And so they would never have met. And that's the only thing I can put together, even though there are still holes in it. It's still the most congruent.
Kind of like, like the, what was it, Infinity War situation with Doctor Strange. It's like, there's like, I've seen all the realities.
You're saying that, like,
the only way that Hal could ever get his heart back was if he met Sophie. Like, Sophie was like the only one who
the
could
biggest
ever
question is still, why doesn't he say, what's up?
Then he doesn't have any other information other than come find me. Mm-hmm. He does that.
And why does he leave
And
her?
then he doesn't do anything with it. Like, if his goal... Okay,
maybe. Because obviously if she said find my past self, maybe she said future, but I think it's past because that would destroy everything I'm about to say.
Days of Future Past?
He knows she's not going to know if he brings it up what he's talking about because it's her past self, right?
Well, he doesn't really know that.
If she says, find my past self, that means before she goes back in time, which means if he says, yo, you came to me in the future, she'd be like, what are you talking about? So there's no point of bringing it up. So that solves that problem. Again, I'm being very blanket statement-y here. And then that's why he doesn't get upset when she just shows up in the house because he's like, I know why you're here. Not the exact reason as to why, but like, almost like an I knew you would come. I'm not like, that's why because I was always like, why is he just letting a random woman stay here? But he was like, Calcifer's listening to you. Maybe that's when he was like, Calcifer's listening to her. She told me to find him. I'm going to keep her around and see what happens. Why he doesn't talk about it to her more, I don't know.
That's so, but like, that's an insane plan. Because now you go and meet them, you don't do anything of knowledge, and then you just assume, well, she'll find her way to me later. Like, at least, what? That's insane.
It's the most concrete.
That, honestly, that destroys it. Because in this way, in the original thing, if that's not true, then it's just a coincidental meeting, which is fine, because that's the inciting action. And then the events of the movie take place just based on Sophie trying to correct herself. But in this way, now, somehow, Hal has known that if he bumps into her and gets her in trouble, she'll find her way to him. What? How? How does he know that? Why does he think that? Why would he choose that plan out of anything?
I have no answer
That's
for
the
you.
thing. That's why that explanation is worse than just having it be not.
I think there's just too many details probably for the book to like be translated. Probably to like the film in a way.
I don't
which,
know.
which
But I
sucks.
usually like that excuse.
I know I don't like that excuse because
Yeah.
I just like if there are, then either make it longer or you change the explanation in a way you can tell it in a movie, because you shouldn't have to have the book to make the movie make sense.
Well, yeah, and you also.
Telling you
I don't
guys,
think
there's
there's
a-
any
There's a reason we
story
just don't
that's.
know what it is.
Huh?
We just haven't discovered it yet. I'm
It
telling
could be.
you.
That's what I'm saying. Like I mean, there's other stuff about this movie I didn't notice.
If it wasn't for
you know,
Phil, we
so-
wouldn't have discovered the curse. So
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So
basically, we could sit here for another 3 hours and talk
Yeah.
about it. But whenever we figure it out, we're gonna address it on this podcast.
Yeah, I will say that I do think that I've come to the conclusion that
Oh no, that will.
this movie sucks. No, I'm just kidding. No, that I actually I like this especially more than I thought I did would when I went into it. Yeah, you're very welcome.
I don't know why I'm
yeah.
excited.
Yeah.
I'm just excited that you like something that you say you hate.
Well, because it's really not. It didn't have any of the elements that I usually disdain about anime, but
That you just say about anime.
yeah, that's what
Right?
I'm
That
saying.
like that you think is stereotypical, which is good.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
opens your eyes to it.
I do wish that the movie gave us a little bit more as far as information on stuff. That could just be some of that. I mean, the theory Phil came up with is, I think that's perfect. It fits and it has evidence to support it. We just missed it. So
While
on
I was
us,
looking up other stuff about meanings of stuff.
yeah.
That actually came up.
Well,
It
He
like
read
somebody,
about it.
somebody,
no,
I read
no,
about
I
it.
literally
somebody else was saying that it has to do with how she looks at
Yeah.
herself, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Dang, dude, go Phil."
Yeah. There is one last thing I want to talk about that I don't like that we didn't really get into is
Oh,
that
no.
like it's more of a subjective, just kind of a thing about, and it's more about movies as a whole, and this one just happens to do it. A lot of movies do the whole anti-war message, and I always thought that was just like really dumb because it's like, yeah, war is bad. Duh. Like, that doesn't mean that you don't fight Hitler and the Nazis. You know what I mean? It's like, it just feels like a bad message for a movie because we all know it. No one's going into war saying, war's fun, let's go to war. Like, yeah, we get it. Like, war is a unfortunately necessary evil. So it feels odd to have it as your message of the movie, just war is bad. You know what I mean?
Sure, I think you have more of an issue with that than a lot of other people.
Sure.
I'm okay with that
It's,
message.
it's a really common message in a lot of movies.
to be honest, I've never really like watching this movie for like 3 times. I never even really thought about it
There's
being
like 3 different times where Hal's like, God, I hate this war. I hate that we have to fight a war. War sucks. Why are we fighting
So-
this useless war? Like, it's
I
really
kinda-
in your face.
I know that
and I
this
mean,
might be a bad excuse, but like I kind of like, again, after looking up some of the meanings, themes, one of the themes it says is that war never makes any sense. And it says in the book it only had a marginal role, whereas in the film the sequences, they have more sequences. Or, yeah, for Miyazaki, it was an element that had to be added for the impact the Iraq war, like you said earlier, was having on him those years ago. Throughout the film, you don't understand the real reason for that war. You don't know what is the target of those who attack. For the basically, it's saying like we don't know the whole reason, and
but just saying blanket statement, no war makes
war is
sense.
only an
is
inexplicable
dumb.
force against which is impossible to survive. You can't fight something that exists with no reason. And I kind of like that it's kind of confusing because that's the meaning of the movie.
No, but yeah, I get what he's trying
Kinda-
to say
kinda
is that
cool.
like no war has meaning. That's stupid. Yes, they do. There's very clear meanings. Now, not every war is justified and well done, but lots and lots of wars
Again,
should have been fought.
This says for Miyazaki it was an element he had that was added because of his impact on war when he was, at his age. And it says basically
Sure,
that,
he can have personal things, just like I can personally criticize how dumb those views are.
I don't know if it was. I don't think it's a blanket statement on war. I think like it was a blanket statement maybe on like the Iraq war individually.
Well, I think that it's
I
just,
have no idea what
listen,
the context
listen,
with the
listen.
Iraq war was.
I think this is
as far
a
as the
personal
tie.
opinion put into a movie.
Yeah.
Which doesn't necessarily have to be bad in my opinion. It says
No, that by itself, no, but I can criticize
It
it.
says it seems only a destructive fury that never stops, persisting on perpetuating its power, and Miyazaki could not accept this. War is no reason or justification, and that is how it is shown in the movie. I think it's an interesting way to show that. And I know you don't like that kind of theme.
No,
but
he succeeded in showing it because that's the vibe I got from watching it.
Yours
I'm
is
just saying
all
that
personal,
the
then.
opinion of it is dumb, and that's my opinion
right,
to another
so it's
one.
all personal.
That's
then,
what
that
I
part.
told you. I started this out saying this is subjective on
Right.
me.
No, I'm just trying to get a
just
grasp.
about anti-war, messages in movies, just because it totally invalidates the idea that bad people exist. That's like saying
Right.
murder's bad. It's like,
No,
well,
but
it happens, so you got to do something about the guys who did it, right?
Unlike other movies where they just say they show what the purpose of fighting is and that this guy is bad, but this guy also isn't really good.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that a lot. But I like the way this was shown in a way of like, we don't even know who they're fighting, why they're fighting.
Yeah.
That is the way of showing that it kind of doesn't make sense and is bad. Instead of like being very clear of who it is and showing that they're each bad, it's mostly like, what is it? Why? Kind of why are we doing this? That's the idea of why they're or how they're
And like,
portraying
why
this.
is Hal fighting these people? Like when
Like,
he
why
goes
is he
out,
getting involved when he doesn't care about the interest of things and stuff like
yeah,
that?
like I mean,
Again,
obviously,
to keep his people
The thing
safe,
is that there's a
man.
counter argument to that. Is like the draft in World War II. It served a very express purpose that needed to be done. Did it suck? Hell yeah. But is anyone saying, maybe we should just let the Nazi boys do their thing? Like, no, that's a fucking terrible perspective. And that's basically what he's kind of saying is that, like, well, all war is meaningless. So if you involve in it, what are you saying about yourself? I don't know. Maybe that I fucking hate Nazis. It's a pretty cut and dry there. You know?
To be fair, you said this before, but you're not saying that all like there are some pointless wars. It just
Sure.
depends
Yeah,
on
you can.
the-
I mean,
right.
even with there's an argument to be made about Iraq. If you wanted to make some parallels about,
Oh,
like,
no, we're
greed
getting to the
for
po- oh, no,
I'm
here
just
we
saying,
go.
like, it's not even necessarily what I believe, but I'm saying like we watched another movie about the 2003 Iraq invasion, Shock and Awe, for Luke's episode.
Yeah.
It's about the same war, and like I wasn't saying that the message of that movie was bad. It was opinionated for sure, but that opinion kind of had more of a consensus behind it. You know what I mean? You kind of understood.
Yeah, I'm just saying I like.
Obviously, it's a direct. They're literally talking about the
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
opposed to metaphor. But
That's why I like the way this war message was presented because it was done to make it feel confusing. Anyways, enough of that. I will wrap up mine. Basically, say that I really enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed it more after we talked about it for sure because I got a couple answers. It's not perfect. There are definitely movies I like more, but this was I like this because also it is different. Like I liked seeing the differences of art styles and themes and messages, the way they portray them, and the styles and stuff like that, and the way that it's written. It's very entertaining, but there are things that I wish we had more explanation to that hurts it.
Yeah,
That's where I'm at.
just a little bit. That's what's like tying it down from being like a totally like, man, I was wrong about anime.
Yeah.
that's what's holding
But
it
that's
down.
why we gotta. I'm
Um,
like for real. Let's find
but-
another one that maybe gives a little more explanation.
Yeah,
then you might be super
I'm
into
down
it.
to do more of them. I'm not closing myself off for them. It's probably still gonna be a bit of an argument to get me to do some of those TV shows, but there is one thing I forgot. This movie, like, man, took me a while to get used to the frame rate changes that happened.
Yeah.
That was really
Different
jarring for
style,
me.
yeah.
Like, all of a sudden they'd have like a normal kind of choppy-ish frame rate with normal stuff, but when they went into like swooping around, it was like really crisp and really like smooth, and I was like, whoa, and then it would go back, and it was
I didn't notice that as much, but
yeah, that
There
was
was
just on me. But
there was like one city scene at the beginning of the movie that had I think it had a weird frame rate for me because like I was just kind of like watching it and it looked like stuff was moving like really fast.
I think when they had a lot, really fast.
like when they had a lot going on, it gets like kind of like dizzying to try to take in
Yeah,
everything
like
at
choppy
once.
fast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the first time I noticed it was that like all the normal when she's just like walking around the town scenes are a little choppy as far as it, like you can tell it's like animated like not perfectly. Like there's cuts in between like movement and stuff like that. But then when Hal showed up and they were swooping around from Goo Man, it was like 60 frames per second. And I was like, whoa, I'm seeing every frame that I can possibly see all of a sudden. And then I'm going to have to go right back down to like 18 frames a second or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's all. Not a big deal. I got used to it. By the end of the movie, I wasn't even noticing it was happening anymore. So I think it's just a new to anime type of thing you have to get used to.
I mean, you've given your express views, but wrap up yours, especially after we were able to talk about
Yeah.
it.
I mean, I never like seeing this movie for a third time. It was like really cool, like because I could watch it and notice like some smaller things that I hadn't noticed before. Like I never noticed at the beginning of the movie where they talk about the prince going missing, and like I never even thought about Sophie's curse not being like an old person curse until I thought about it like deeper, like outside of watching the movie. I was like, wait, like her curse, like there's a lot of.
goes away.
I was like, wait, why does her curse just go away? And like, why is she like slip in and out of her curse sequence when she's like asleep? Like that doesn't make sense. Like a curse would be constantly there if it's just about age.
Yeah.
And like I think there's some like heart stuff in the film that like is there, but I can't place it somewhere. Like there's obviously a lot of different things about hearts that are mentioned between like the Witch of the Waste and Sophie, and like between Sophie and Hal. It's like, oh, you're the one who like holds Hal's heart in a way, because like you remember that one scene where it's like, oh, you poured water on a fire and the fire didn't go out when it normally should. It was just like, that was kind of weird to me.
A lot of
Maybe they're
metaphorical,
implying
like,
that it wasn't the physical heart. Maybe it was like in another place, like Sophie herself, like the love, or that kind of shit.
There was like some
Yes,
weird like heart stuff in the movie that like I couldn't really place it. Like I knew there was like some metaphors, but I couldn't really like figure out like where they went and like what they were supposed to mean as a deeper meaning. But there was like something there that I wanted to mention about hearts, but it just wasn't like a big thing, I guess, because like we know Hal's heart was like the fire that like kept his house going, and they were tied to one another. But like there's just some weird heart stuff in the film that's like it's there, but it's not.
It sounds like you want to watch it a fourth time and do more research.
Yeah.
I mean,
talking with it on here, did that like, I don't know, did that enhance the experience? Did it make it like worse? I don't know. I'm just figuring out like when you're.
No, there was definitely confusing parts about this movie. I tried to redeem it, but like I got confused watching certain parts too.
Nah, it's all good. We're not trying to like tear
No.
you down or anything. I'm just curious and like, watching a movie you like a lot and then like coming on and showing it to two new people, especially as new as we are to this whole thing. If that's like better for it, or like the experience of it, kind of a deal.
The dream sequence has always been confusing to me. I could never really find why she needed to go back in time to even really see that. Because what did her seeing that mean? Like I remember like Solomon references is like, oh, Hal, the boy who swallowed a star, and after he swallowed the star, he was a totally different person. But like, why did Sophie need to see that? Like,
felt a little bit for the audience, but again,
regardless, I think Phil probably feels pretty accomplished because we're leaving this in very good spirits.
Yeah,
I started it
one
good,
of the best outcomes you probably could have hoped for as far as this goes.
You know what? I'll even say this is my favorite
anime
I've seen.
Wow, same. Honestly, same.
Wow, Nate. So glad I introduced you to anime in a good way.
Yeah.
Good job. When are
we gonna watch the one where like the guy cooks so well all the women's clothes fall off?
Oh, you talking about Food Wars?
What are you talking about?
That's a real one. I heard. I think PewDiePie talked about it.
I feel like we
I
have
think
to
it's
watch
called
Spirited Away next.
Spirited Away is a good one.
Yeah, that's
a good one.
the big one. So
I mean, yeah, you also have
see.
like Your Name, which is good, but it's like a totally different.
if this episode does really well, then yeah, I'm down.
All right.
But with that being said, we've done it. We have accomplished the impossible. We made Nate like something he said he hated. So I will leave today with a smile on my face.
And we recorded a fucking really long episode.
Yeah, this might be the longest episode
It's
we've
gotta
recorded.
be.
But there was a lot to dive into. I had fun.
Yep.
I had a
And
good time.
It was good.
Cool. So if you guys can do us a good old favor, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, we would appreciate a review because
5 stars only.
that definitely helps. And you know what I'm going to say? Leave whatever, how are you feeling? How you feeling? Give us
Feel 5 stars. That's how I'm telling you to feel.
review on our podcast would be great. Thank you guys for listening to this. If you're listening to it on any sort of audio platform. I always want to say audible platform. Audio platform. We are on YouTube now. Check us out on YouTube. Follow us at That's Movies Brother on Instagram. Follow me at Tyler C. Gillette on Instagram. Nate can go
We'll get there.
live under a rock. But Phil, if you have anything you want to plug, feel free. If not, then I guess you're wrapping up our episode for us.
Pretty much just like watch anime. Like it's cool.
This is not an official endorsement of the That's Movies Brother podcast.
It is for me half endorsement.
Wow.
Just
He
just
gets
try
points.
new things. I mean, I'd say just try new things and like maybe step out of your comfort zone like Nate did with this. Like I've told Nate to watch anime like so many times and stuff, and he's like, been adamant that he doesn't like it, but like he's found something that he doesn't absolutely hate in anime. So like if you've never watched anime, like maybe try something new.
Yes.
And you might find
Hentai,
something.
maybe.
Nope.
I mean, it's something. It's something new.
Same art style, so feels right.
Nope. I definitely agree with that. And with that being said, we're going to end our very long episode.
Cool. We've been us, you've been you. Cancel your Netflix subscription for cuties, and see you next time.
That's movies, brother.